What are we eating this morning? I'm just curious. I'm always interested in what people eat. What is your food? What are we eating today, Mr. Blaze?
I usually don't eat this early,
That's okay. It's okay.
but I had to because I was starving.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
So we have a Italian chicken with rice and spinach.
Now, what makes it Italian chicken?
I don't know. It's from an Italian market.
Versus a Greek chicken, maybe more oregano or some type of, maybe mint.
They label it the healthy choice.
Ah, yes.
Number 2.
And you know it is.
Yeah, it's a chicken breast in Italian marinade.
There you go. Italian.
That's all I need to know.
Maybe Italian dressing does it. We just, and it's healthy. I mean, and you know it's healthy because it says it's healthy.
That's how I know.
And they wouldn't lie to you. They wouldn't say it's healthy if it's not healthy.
Of course.
There's a law against that. You just can't say something is healthy.
It's on the label.
And when it says natural and light, I like to eat natural.
And I don't see, there's no gobs of cheese or anything like that.
Well, some people would say, that's the paleo. That's good.
And it's got spinach.
There you go. Sprayed with I don't know what, but it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter because it says that
It's healthy.
It's healthy. I mean, it's healthy because it says it's healthy. And it's also the Mediterranean diet that everybody talks about, the Mediterranean diet. What is the Mediterranean? I don't know what it is. The Mediterranean. How many, this is very interesting. Watch this. I have a friend of mine who claims to be European. How many countries border or are bordered by the Mediterranean? Which ones are they? All right, I just go to my chat GPT, right? Because we always say the word Mediterranean. That's the Mediterranean diet. 23 countries border the Mediterranean Sea, either directly on the coastline or through territory that touches one of its enclosed areas like the Aegean, Adriatic, Tyrrhenian, or Levantine seas. Did you know that? Or Levantine? I guess the Levant. These countries are spread across 3 continents, Europe, Africa, and Asia. So what is the Mediterranean diet? The Mediterranean borders Spain, France, Monaco, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. They always talk, it's like Dallas and Fort Worth, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Bosnia, and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Albania, Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, Asia, Turkey, of course, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, or Gaza Strip. That's the Mediterranean diet. Africa, including Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco rather, and of course Gibraltar, Malta. So anyway, so there was this thing called one time the Mediterranean diet, and I asked people, "What's the Mediterranean?" They go, Italy? No. Well, yeah, that's what people meant. Italy. And in their mind, they came up with this idea that the Mediterranean diet was wine and nuts and stuff that they like. Oh, and olive oil. They loved olive oil. Olive oil is the best. You gotta have that olive oil. Oh my God. Pour it on. Remember years ago when you'd go to a restaurant and they'd bring you a big plate of butter. Big gob of butter. Not anymore. Then they gave you a little bit of olive oil with some herbs in it. And we bought it. We said, okay, fair enough. But who is the Mediterranean diet? I go back. It was Ansel Keys. And did he say anything about this? He goes, no, not really. Well, what specifically was the country or the area that he dealt with? It was Crete. That was basically the subject matter was Crete. And Crete had just suffered from incredible food shortages after World War II and the Germans and the Nazis. So what they did was they had no produce. I mean, they had no livestock, no cattle. It was a lot of nuts and plants and walking. And somehow, after that, they decided that was called the Mediterranean diet. If you go back and you look at Crete today, it's back to normal in terms of the lipid levels and obesity. We love names for things. Here was a bunch. This is one of my favorites. A while back, somebody had this candy. He had this candy. And the candy, he said, what do I do with this candy? He said, I don't know. Wait a minute, I got an idea. Why don't you mix it with some nuts and call it, you ready? Trail mix. Hey, trail mix. Doesn't it sound great? Sounds great. It sounds like you're on a trail. Like you're packing this for energy in your backpack as you're on the trail. And people buy this stuff constantly. They just, I like sea salt. It has sea salt. What difference? Now, there are some, there's sel de mer and all this. Really, there's some finishing salts that are very, very good. My friends, I don't know if this has anything to do with you, but Americans in particular, and I can't speak for the rest of the world, we are the most gullible group of people anybody has ever seen. We get into this stuff all of a sudden. They'll get into something. And I love fads and trends. Turmeric. Overnight. This is the greatest stuff that's ever been. Turmeric is the greatest. What is it? I don't know. Makes things yellow, I guess. I don't know. My favorite, Bobby Kennedy. Methylene blue. I gotta have it. Why? The mitochondria. The mitochondria. Yeah, the mitochondria. It affects the mitochondria. Okay. What does it do? Well, you see, and they just start making this stuff up. You see, it replenishes the mitochondria and replenishes the mitochondria. Where'd you hear that? I don't know. I heard it someplace. Joe Rogan talked about it. I don't know. Here's another one too. You ready for this? Completely worthless. This is my favorite. Plunging into ice baths. Okay? You know who did that one? The ice company. You got to have a lot of ice for that. If you want to have ice company, if you want to say, I've got this big tub in the backyard, fill it with ice, excuse me, load it up. Where do you get the ice from? Oh, yeah, that's right. You got to have a lot of ice you got to put in there. Okay. So basically, you submerge yourself, never to see your testicles again. Ever. They're gone. Gone. Thermoreceptors completely absorbed by your spleen. Why are you doing that? Serves absolutely no purpose whatsoever. Nothing. Nothing. I mean, it's okay. It couldn't hurt, I guess. Some people do it. How about those crazy Russians jumping into it? You go into a steam bath, and some crazy guy in a loincloth hits you with a wooden mop or some mop. He slaps the hell out of you, and then you're sweating like crazy. Then you jump into ice. What? Why? Well, the Russians do it. The Russians used to hoard potato. I mean, what are you talking about? Why do I want to do this? I don't know. It just sounds good. We just believe this stuff. That's what I love. It's folklore. Where did we get this stuff from? So yesterday, as you know, the MAGA world is beside themselves with this ridiculous Epstein disaster. Pam Bondi. Oh, we're done. We're done, Pam. Thank you. That was nice. She's still talking about it. They're still... Cash Patel. Cash looks like he's always shocked. Like he just saw, like he saw his family dismembered in a fertilizer accident. He just looks shocked. Dan Bongino, does the president, now you're going to get upset with me because I love the president, but sometimes he makes some of the most boneheaded moves ever. Where'd you get this trio from? Are you kidding me? Seriously. You mean to tell me this? You know who I felt the most sorry for? Caroline Levitt yesterday. Peter Ducey was murdered. I thought you said you had the list. Well, I had the list. You said you had the list. All right, I said it. Damn it, I said I had the list. But there's no list. All right, F you. F me. F you. F you and your list. F you. GD and shut up. No, you shut up. What about the 10,000 kids? I know I said that. I talk a lot. I get crazy. I drink early. You know me. Yeah, but you said, well, what is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for? I don't know what she's in prison for. Did anybody get charged? No, nobody got charged. How do you have trafficking and nobody gets arrested? Same thing with Diddy. What was that about? Maureen Comey. Here's one for you. Remember Virginia Giuffre? This was the biggest witness, bar none. Remember this one? She's dead. Maybe in an accident, maybe not. Nobody asks any, not interested. Nobody. Not TMZ, not Harvey Levin, not this. Nobody. Hands off. Hands off. Oh, it is so wild because you're not seeing this because you're watching. Don't tell me. Fox News, I understand it. Everything's happy in Fox News. Happy. Hi. Hi. Ainsley reads her notes. She's got her little notes. Ainsley says, I love our troops. I love our troops. Well, thank you. That's good. No, okay, you love the troops. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hannity comes out. He's got his flag. He's got this. He got that. He got this. Hannity also has this. There's a kind of a frequency. Maybe you file down the plane. Birds are like losing direction. Dogs are waking from their. There's a something is, sources say, is the tea kettle working? What is going on here? Absolutely worthless. Yesterday, nothing. So yeah. So now the left is even worse. When Marjorie Taylor Greene bravely, thankfully, brings up geoengineering, which every country in the world has been talking about, the left say, oh, there she goes again. Crazy MTG with her crazy space lasers. And it's like, oh my God, I'm living in an asylum. So where do you go for the truth? You go with me. If you can handle it. Because all of a sudden, you got to realize something. And I mean this. And people have this, they love, how do I say this? They love the president to the extent that they just feel like he's like their boyfriend. And if they say anything against them, they lose their MAGA hat. Or they like somehow, it's like, no, he works for you. You know that, right? He works for you. And what we're seeing is demented. Let me ask you something. What was the best thing that has happened so far in the 67 days? I don't know. What's the best thing that the Trump administration did? This is a tough one. Name the one thing that really did it. What do you think? Hello, what do you think was the best thing, the best thing that the Trump administration ever did last time? What do you think it was? What? Border? What about the border? Oh, I got to tell you stuff about the border. You're not going to believe this. You know who Charlie Kirk is, right? Ooh. Or you're not going to be able to sleep when I tell you what he said. You're not going to be able to sleep. But the one thing he did, bar none, the best, and it was really Doge. Remember Doge? Is Doge over? That's it. Remember Big Balls? Remember that guy they called him Big Balls? There was a guy they called Big Balls. And I loved it. It was so terrific. It was so wonderful, fantastic. This is great. Okay. U.S. aid or AID. Remember that? That was the best thing. That shutting that down was the greatest thing anybody's ever seen. It was the most incredible. It was what I leapt to see Samantha Power and those people being thrown out of USA. U.S. aid was how all of the dark money, the secret money, the deep state money, how it was filtered and cleaned and reprogrammed. It went Oh my God. I wouldn't be surprised if the Kennedy family was paid with that, if Soros was paid for that. I wouldn't be surprised if everything and anything, if all of it went through that, funneled through USA. It was the greatest thing ever. Now, no more Doge because Trump and Elon are in a pissing match. Why? I don't know. You've got Elon saying, yeah, you better watch it there, Trump, because I know you're on those Epstein files. It's like, wait a minute. Next thing you know, there's no more files. Now, you've got to be an idiot to not sit there and say, now, wait a minute. What's going on here? You remember who Ghislaine Maxwell's father was, right? Robert Maxwell? You know what happened to him? He's all Mossad. I mean, everybody knows this stuff. So were they involved in it? I don't know. Was CIA? I don't know. We don't know anything. All I know is Pam Bondi handed out binders. Remember that? Binders. There were people who went to D.C. I don't even know what the hell they were there for. It was D.C. Drano, I think was there, and Libs of TikTok, and I think maybe Cat Turd. These are very famous people. And all of a sudden they said, hey, who are you? Hey, what's this? Here's some binders. Binders? Yeah, these are the Epstein files. Oh, okay. This is the most cockamamie thing I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I seriously. And the latest. Well, I'm gonna wait till I tell you what Charlie Kirk is saying. Now you might say to yourself, who is Charlie Kirk? Who is anybody? Let me ask you something. Who are the people who were the reporters? Who were the Cronkites of today? Who are the people? Who? Where do you think these people are? I don't want to keep hitting the trio, Fox and Newsmax and all that. But they give a very sanitized, a very clean version of the news. They're not going to do anything to really ruffle feathers. They're not going to do anything to contradict or disrupt the whole notion of MAGA. So the question I have is, where do you get the news from? Where do you think it's from? Where do you think it's from? Where? By the way, I just saw a new version of Spam has a flavor called Korean barbecue. I swear to God. Spam. I just want to tell you that. Talking about good food. Spam is still on the market. Spam. Spam and Twinkies. Never, ever, ever lied about what they were. Never told you anything. Because of course, I have different monitors on. And when I come in, the first thing I do is I turn all the news stuff off and I watch things like Andrew Zimmern, Weird Foods, or something else to remind me that there's a world out there, because I get so depressed when I watch anything. I never watch cable news. Never. Listen to what I'm telling you. Never. I never watch cable news. Never. Under any circumstance whatsoever. Never. Have I made myself clear? Never. I despise it. It's such a lie. We are being contaminated with this. And local, don't get me started. The local New York race, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Coming up, I'll read you Charlie Kirk's message. You're going to lose your mind with this one. I'm not vouching for you. I'm just going to tell you what it says. Our number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. We have more coming up on The Other Side of Midnight. That's this here show. By the way, remember, you can find me at lionelmedia.com. You want to get a hold of me. You want to sign up for my newsletter. You want to find out about my appearance at the Cutting Room on July the 19th. Everything is there for you and yours. More coming up. And I don't want to tell you. It's like, remember Fluffy? Fluffy? Yeah, the family dog. What? Yeah. There's an old joke years ago. Guy goes on vacation, and he says, calls his brother up, he says, how's everything? He says, great. He says, by the way, how's mom? He says, she's dead. He said, what? Yeah, she's dead. She's dead? That's the way you tell me? She's dead? Yeah. I said, well, what do you want me to tell you? He goes, can you maybe, I don't know, ease me into it? What? Could you say something like, well, Mom, she, I screwed that joke up. Just forget it. It's too early. It was a great joke. I so ruptured that joke, so much so I can't even recover. You know what? I'll wait a couple of days. I'll do it again later. I can't believe, because I normally don't screw jokes up. But when you have no sleep and you're bombarded with the world falling apart, and I have to be Mr. Nicey, it's tough. At 30 past the hour, by the way, on the other side of midnight, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of calm, the mellifluous intonations, a man who is the quintessence of sonority, the lovely and talented Vincent in Brooklyn. Vincent, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good evening, Lionel.
Good evening, sir.
Lionel, do you believe that the White House said that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide? Now, you and I both know that that did not happen. And
Absolutely.
They gave this litany of why these people were transferred out of his prison cell and why the cameras were broken, they can't find the tapes, and why one of the guards was asleep at the desk. Gee, what a great coincidence.
But see, Vincent, here's the problem. If I were in the Trump administration, I'm going to say, don't bring up Epstein, and everybody will forget it. They will just forget it, because there's too many things going on right now. There's too many visits, too many wars, but so Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, just when we are ready to forget everything, they keep bringing it up. Now, as you know, Vincent, we don't know the reason for what's going on. But let's do a couple of premises I think that we can agree on.
Go ahead.
Number one, I think the president knows through his channel of information, the people. Remember, he has CIA. He has a lot of important people that kind of work for him. And They will say, Mr. President, we know exactly what we think are in these tapes and videos or whatever it is. And perhaps he has a lot of friends that he has, or some very powerful people that he can protect. Remember, Vincent, the old days, J. Edgar Hoover used to go up to the Hill and would walk in and talk to a senator or a congressman and saying, listen, I want you to know, good news. We've intercepted that horrible, terrible information that would destroy you and your family and your career. But listen, don't worry. It's not getting out. You've got friends in us. We've taken care of it. Oh, and about that budget. And then they would say, well, whatever you want.
Right.
So President Trump might be doing that. Where are who was it? Pam Bondi, and bless her heart, I don't think she's up for this job. She said there were tens of thousands of kids, children, and nobody's been arrested? Does any of this make any sense to you?
No. Yet they managed to find all the illegal Mexicans with warrants out for the child molestation,
right.
And they managed to find them, even though the mayor of Boston says, "Oh, you can't come here and arrest them." They managed to find them and arrest them anyway. Another thing I think we could agree on. The Ghislaine Maxwell arrest, that's a total setup. That's a total setup, in my opinion. My humble opinion.
Well, it didn't look. Do you remember when she was in her? How do I say this? She was like in Pennsylvania, or like almost in the woods or something.
The boonies.
Yeah, the boonies, with big picture windows and she was there reading a book. She was the last place in the world I'm going to be, especially when my consort and ex-lover and all these people have been, he's been killed. I mean, killed. I mean, if this doesn't make you wonder, I don't know what. But later on, it gets even better. They put her on trial, and there's no witnesses. Victim.
Exactly.
Vincent, I don't understand why, for example, the FBI didn't say, all right, Mr. Vincent, have a seat. My name is Special Agent da-da-da, and then we're going to go through these pictures. Now, I've got a book for you. Let's say I'm talking to a young lady, and I want you to go through these, and if you see a picture of somebody whose picture of who might be having, I don't know, sex or whatever with apparently young people, if somebody says, wait a minute, I know that person. That person, I was a minor at the time and was forced. Great. Turn the picture over. That is, let's say, I'm not saying it is, but hypothetically, that's Bill Gates or that's the president of Ecuador or whatever. It's very simple. And of that, you come up with a list of 15, 20, 50 very famous people who should be charged immediately with illicit activity. Not one person was charged, ever, with anything, nothing.
She was the scapegoat. And, Lionel, my mother used to say in regards to Ghislaine Maxwell, did she stick a gun in anybody's back and say, you get on that plane and you go down to Orgy Island? Did she stick a gun in anybody's back? No. And this all happened, mind you, in the aftermath of Harvey Weinstein getting busted.
Right.
A lot of major news. Who was that other guy? Charlie Fox. He lost his job.
Charlie Rose,
Charlie Rose, excuse me.
Right.
People from the Me Too movement, left and right, losing their jobs and everything. And now some of these cases are being reopened again because, in my personal opinion, a lot of these women who were on the casting couch wanted to be on the casting couch.
Well, that's another thing too. See, the Diddy case. You see, one of the best ways. Let's assume that I am an inside fixer for, let's say, pardon the expression, organized crime. I know. I know where let's just assume. So what I'm saying is, so I'm a prosecutor. So what I do is I take the worst case and I charge racketeering against the whatever Bonventre family. Okay. And everybody's acquitted, which I send the message, there is nothing to this. There is no organized crime. The federal government is weak, so that the next time I dare to bring up a case, they're going to say, oh, like the Bonventre case, that one?
Right.
It's such a bad case. So what's happening is I just let everybody know that in the world of trafficking, people are always going to be looking back at this Diddy case. Oh, you mean like that one? I mean, this is the part that gets me. Can you imagine charging? They charged him with, number one, Vincent, you may know the racketeering,
right.
And ongoing. I mean, there's no organization, no continuity, no common purpose, no nothing. Then the best was sex trafficking, force, fraud, or coercion. When the victims basically
said they enjoyed it
and texted him back, and the first and the reason why he had to hire security was to keep women out.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. Vincent, why don't people consult with you and me? Not me, but you in particular. With yours?
Well, I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I've been around the block too long, and I know the corruption on both sides of the aisle, so to speak. What I predict with the P. Diddy case last week, people are saying he's going to do 20 years. He's going to do 10 years back to back on the RICO charge. I say BS. First off, the judge should have let him out on bail when he beat the two RICO charges, right? He already served a year in the joint.
Yep.
Right? Now, by the time he's supposed to go to sentencing in October, that'll be another 4 months from now. I predict by the end of the year, he's going to be let out with time served.
Yep.
He's going to be given an ankle bracelet. They're going to take away his passport. He's going to be on probation for 5 years. And not that he has to call every week. He's going to have to show up at a probationary office in person.
Exactly. And also, the reason why is, I always say, as though you know anything about these cases. Far be it for me to presume that. But as you know, the trial judge said one of the main criteria to grant bail in this particular case is if there is how do I say this?
Flight risk?
Well, flight risk, but also if there is a chance you have to look at the probability of success of the appeal. If the trial judge thinks, you got a pretty good chance beating this, he's more likely to grant bail. Now, most trial judges don't want to admit that the case that they've refused to dismiss is lousy and should have been dismissed. So consequently, it's in their own best interest not to grant bail because they're sending a message that even the trial judge doesn't think it's a good case. But that notwithstanding, he is going to come back as the biggest. He's going to say, I never ratted anyone out. Now let me ask you this. Again, you might know something about this. When was the last time you ever heard of anybody beating a racketeering case in the Southern District of New York or Eastern? Ever? Racketeering? When they have committees that review this, once they decide we're going RICO, who gets acquitted of that?
Nobody.
Not one. All you need are two predicate charges, two predicate cases. Nothing. They had like
predicate felons.
Nothing. Not one case. The jury said this is a dog. I mean, I can't believe. And Maureen Comey, yet again.
God, what a train wreck.
Unbelievable. Vincent, I want to thank you for your insight, my dear friend. Please call me again, dear sir.
Most certainly will, and you have a great evening.
You too,
Lionel,
sir.
one more question,
Yes, sir.
if I may.
Yes, sir.
Do you think, given the fact that P. Diddy has some of the top lawyers in the country, do you think his lawyers right now are putting in an appeal for bail?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Not only that, motions for new trial, motions to set aside the verdict, motions to I think it's probably too late, but to renew the motion for judgment of acquittal. They're going to do everything in their power to keep that judge without, Listen, remember what they got him on? The white slavery statute, transporting a person across state lines for prostitution. How do you think Cassie and this Jane Doe feel when they've just been adjudicated a prostitute by a federal court?
What about, Lionel, all the prostitutes on Roosevelt Avenue?
Unbelievable, yes.
To get to Roosevelt Avenue or Ditmars Boulevard, call up a car service driver, Jose, that they know, and what? The next thing they're going to bust Jose for transporting a woman for means of prostitution.
And if she crosses the GWB into Jersey, then you violate.
God, it's a federal offense.
Yes. Hey, listen, Vincent, all the best, my friend. Thank you, sir.
Have a great evening, Lionel.
Thank you,
ciao,
sir.
ciao.
Indeed. Let's go back to the phones. Back to the phone. By the way, you dear friends, I need to reboot my monitor for some particular reason. I don't know why it is. I think it's because it's got so much activity. Let's go to Pete on Staten Island. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Oh, this was brilliant. You and that other gentleman, I tell you, everything you were saying is so true.
Absolutely.
So history repeats itself,
Indeed.
Let's talk about Martha Mitchell. Let's talk about Vince
Mitchell.
Vince Foster, This has been...
Hello. See? They did to you what they did to Martha Mitchell. Right in mid-sentence. Call me back, dear friend. 800-848-9222. The Scott in Englewood. I guess, is this Colin? I have no idea. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi. Yeah, Englewood, Colorado.
Wow.
I recognize the joke you were going to tell, and that's one of my favorite jokes. And I thought, oh, my God, how could he be telling it backwards?
Okay, you're right. I'm going to tell the joke the right way.
Can I?
No. All right, go ahead. No, please. Go ahead, please.
I think it was from an old movie with Bruce Dern where they were faking the Mars landing or something. Remember that? He was climbing the dune and he was telling the joke to give himself strength. But this guy, he goes on vacation for a couple weeks and he tells his friend, hey, take care of my dog
right.
and
That's
watch out for my mom. And So he gets back after 2 weeks, and he asks the guy, "Hey, how's my dog?" And the guy says, "Oh, your dog's dead."
Right.
Am I still on?
Yeah.
Okay. So he says, "Oh, you prick! Why would you? Why would you tell me like that? You can't ease into it. The latch was faulty. The dog got out of the yard, went in the street, got hit by a car. I went to the vet, couldn't save the dog. I didn't. Okay,
You did it too. The best one would be the best way to do it is this: it's better to have a brother do it, because why would a friend be watching your mother? Calls his brother up. He says, "By the way, how's the dog? Dog's dead." "What do you mean the dog's dead?" "The dog's dead." He goes, "That's the way you tell me?" I said, "Wait a minute, you could have told me." So what do you want me to tell you? He said, "Well, you could have told me the dog got out, climbed on the roof, and then jumped on and then tried to jump on a tree limb, and then missed the tree limb, and then fell and broke his little shoulder, and they took him to the emergency room, and he died peacefully under anesthesia." You could have told me something like that. But no, you tell me the dog's dead. He says, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake." He says, "By the way, how's mom?" He says, "She's on the roof." Okay, see, something like that, quick. But the idea is quick. Don't set things up a couple of weeks. See, that's the way, please don't take this the wrong way. That's the way a woman tells a story. So this guy, could be any guy, he goes on vacation, for maybe, I don't know, a month, 2 weeks. Who cares? Get to the point. My favorite story ever was not a story, was a reaction of a woman, a friend of mine's wife, who they said, so a German, a French guy, and a Japanese fella walk into a bar. And his wife said, "Really?" And I thought, that says it all. The notion of a joke. Michael in Manhattan, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Okay. Two things. One, I'm just going to finish off that joke, which you started to tell but didn't finish.
I did finish. I just finished it.
No, that was yes, but the new one, iceberg, Weisberg, but we're not going to go there. Okay. You're talking about the Epstein
No.
papers.
Iceberg, Goldberg, remember that one? Titanic, that joke?
Yeah.
We weren't talking about that joke. When you said, I'm going to finish off that joke, we never brought up that joke. You made it sound like we were talking about it.
Brevity is the soul of wit. But let me talk about another set
What
of
the hell
papers.
is going on here? Why would
This
you
is
say
the
the iceberg Goldberg joke when we never brought it? Nobody brought that up.
Oh, I thought you were starting to tell.
No.
Okay. All right.
Oh, my
so
God.
let's move on to another set of papers that no one will ever see, that's more dangerous than the Epstein papers, the Manuel Noriega papers.
Uh-huh.
Okay? At the time, I was working for one of these commercial copy houses. They did overflow work for law firms, okay? All right. A guy comes in. I was a salesman at the time, and I happened to be near the front entrance. This guy comes in, and he says, "Can you copy these papers?" I said, "Yeah, I'll have one of my guys do it." Okay. So he says, "Well, these are very, they're old papers. They're kind of turning yellowish." Okay, I have the perfect guy. He'll do it by hand, each paper on the glass, as they call it. Okay, fine. He says, "Would you mind if I stood by while he did it?" I said, "Okay." And this worker is doing his job, and he really was, all kidding aside, he was deaf mute. The best worker in
What the hell are we talking about?
You don't remember the Manuel Noriega papers?
No, I remember that, but what are you talking about?
Okay. What I'm saying is, this man who turned out to be an officer of the New York State Banking Commission, he had these papers which they were going to duplicate. It was in the bank.
You're saying this is bigger than the Epstein case?
Yeah, I'll tell you why.
Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. This is like, oh, my God. The Manuel Noriega case is bigger than the Epstein case now. Think about that. Think about that.
What?
Oh my God. Not only do I come in, am I shocked by the horrors that I see in the news. I haven't even told you the Charlie Kirk story. I get this. Dear heavenly God. I'll tell you what, let's take a bit of an interruption here. Our number is 800-848-9222. I'm shocked. 800-848-9222. More coming up with me, Lionel, on the other side of midnight.
Wow, wow, wow.
I'm still trying to recover from what's going on, and you're helping me tremendously, and I appreciate this. By the by, speaking of food, I was watching this strange or bizarre food on the cooking channel. They had crickets from the Oaxacan area. I've never tried crickets. I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't think that goes against, I tend to be more plant-based, but I would have absolutely no problem. Wouldn't you? Eating crickets? Crunchy, and you'd like that.
I've had them. They're great.
Really? You have? See, I like that. Did you have it as an amuse-bouche? Would you use that?
Funny you mention it. I think I did.
I mean, I have no connection whatsoever in terms of what something is and how it fits into the world of cartoons or, whatever. It doesn't bother me in the least. Not in the least. No problem whatsoever. But some people have a real difficult time with that because they go, ooh, that's gross. Nothing gross at all about that. I don't understand. You're eating bugs anyway. In any event. Let's go to Dick in New Jersey. Dick, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel, the reason I got to know you better, the last month, I'm up all night long going to the bathroom because I have
Why
a
is that?
problem. I have a prostate problem.
Okay.
And that's why I listened to you on the radio. That's how I got to know you better.
That's all
So
it's all that matters.
I go to get the catheter out. I haven't slept 8 hours in 4 or 5 days. Mm-hmm. So I get there. This is what I usually do. You sign in. And right away I notice.
Where? You go where? I get where?
I go to the Newbridge Medical in Providence.
Okay. All right.
Okay, the Rutgers affiliate. So anyway, I all my life I always noticed the girl's lefty. I go, I'm lefty too. How many people in your family are lefty? She said nobody. I said, I'm the only lefty of 7 kids, neither is my mother or father. Did a little small talk. So finally I get to the doctor. I stand up. Takes the balloon out.
Mm-hmm, right.
It's over. That's the good news. The bad news is you can resume having sex. Mm-hmm. And I say to myself, you got anybody in mind?
You mean compared to when you were
today?
Yes. So
That's
when you were
news.
Now remember the balloon is most important part of the catheter. That's a little part of the inflated with saline, just so that you can't pull it through the urethra. If it kept slipping out, it defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
Now, remember what happened was I told you my story. After I had a diverticulum removed from my bladder when I was 13, I was in a wheelchair with the catheter bag on the side and some other drains.
Oh, man.
And it became caught in the axle. So it pulled, it yanked with the balloon, freshly filleted, freshly surgified, freshly sutured abdominal and internal bladder surgery with sutures, and it yanked all of a sudden with the balloon intact. Huh?
Unreal.
That'll set you free.
My father gave me 2 words of advice. Don't get old, don't get married. He did both.
Let me ask you something. What is the problem with I like when they say prostrate. What exactly is the problem with your prostate?
Well, if you looked in the ultrasound, the canal was very thin. And I never can empty my bladder. So when I get up at night and they call you and they hang out and go back again, it's like every 15 minutes the urge is still there.
Well, see, that's the problem. Right. It's that sense of you need a bladder version of Ozempic, something that cuts down on the feeling. Then you'll just urinate on yourself and, hey, what are you going to do?
Well, what he said to me, I said, the only thing he said to me is pretty disgusting. He pulled a lot of pus out of it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what he says. And then he went on his way. The last time I saw him, I got to see him the 16th.
The prostate is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful when working well, it's a very, very simple thing. producing seminal fluid. That's it. That's all it really does. There's no
that
other.
neutralizes the urethra for when you.
But I'm saying,
Whatever.
if you look at where the urethra goes underneath it, and if there's any kind of hypertrophy or any kind of benign prostatic hypertrophy, any kind of swelling, it shunts, if you will, the urethra, and then you get that wonderful elder dribble, that sound of the dribble versus the young micturition blast that could chip sand or chip granite. Hey, listen, my friend, you call me anytime. Interesting, your name is Dick. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Don't ever change. I mean that sincerely. 800-848-9222. That was a good one. That was a very good. We got that one out of our way, that first hour. Not too crazy. I'm not too upset. I'm not too nuts. Not too at all upset. I was yesterday. I still am. Because believe me, the Epstein thing, I cannot believe that even happened. Seriously, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I'm in the twilight zone. Border Patrol officer declares better get used to us. Heavily armed federal agents on horseback sweeping across a local park. What do you think about that? Now, some of you fine folks will say that's great. That's good. That's terrific. Nothing wrong with that. I want to read something to you that will make you absolutely writhe in agony upon hearing this. Listen to this very carefully. This is from a piece by a fellow named Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk is he's very good. And sometimes people will listen to others people, depending upon what they say. Just like Steve Bannon. Some people will like Steve Bannon if Steve Bannon says what you want to hear. They won't like Steve Bannon if Steve Bannon decides to say something which is contrary to what you believe. I listen to everyone. And I listen to them and I ask myself whether what they're saying makes some kind of sense. Now listen to this piece, and I was wondering, where's Tom Homan? Tom Homan supposedly said he was not even living with his family because of threats and all kinds, which could very well be true. But I want to read something to you. I want you to think about this, and I want you to ask yourself whether this is even remotely possible. Charlie Kirk says there is a massive push behind the scenes for President Trump to sign a mass amnesty deal. Wait a minute. What? What? Could this even be possible? This is what Mr. Kirk wrote. Let me say it and let me ask you this. Literally the day before President Donald Trump was signing the big, beautiful bill, I, Charlie Kirk, got a couple of calls from people that you would call members of the, quote, ruling class. A lot of money and a lot of connections. They said, Charlie, isn't this amazing? We passed the big beautiful bill. I said, oh, yes, sir. And they said, now we need mass amnesty. I said, what? They said, we haven't even signed the bill yet. They said, yeah, these deportations, we're going to lose the midterms because of the deportations. The people on the right, they'll understand, and we need to come up to the middle. And we need to legalize the 25 million people here in this country. I was speechless. Again, not my words, his. You see, here I am actually thinking, the naive, we're going to sign this big, beautiful bill, and we're actually going to get mass deportations uninterrupted from an asymmetrical attack. So we have somewhere between 20 to 15 or so million illegal aliens in this country. We don't actually know the numbers. These are all guesstimates. These are all just approximations. And there is a movement afoot as I am doing this broadcast. This is Charlie Kirk. And this is bigger than anything with Epstein. This is bigger than anything with tax cuts. It is happening right now in Washington, D.C. And I can say this from firsthand experience that people are, again, not me, people are pushing President Trump for amnesty. They are pushing him for the mass legalization of the illegals. Now, if this even remotely is true, if this is dare I say remotely true, whatever was, is, and is thought to be a part of this thing called MAGA is over. But that can't be, right? I'm suggesting it can't be. I'm suggesting. However, as people start to go through and start to see what's happening, there were a couple of statements that President Trump made which are very interesting. And one of them was something to the effect of, when you have these farms and farmers and these workers who've been with him for 10, 14, 15, 20 years, they kind of need them. And all of a sudden thinking, wait a minute. What if behind the scenes there could be a move from his friends in the manufacturing, the production, the corporate sector saying, President Trump, you can't do this to us. I don't know about these illegals coming in. Maybe those bad folks, but the ones who are here, the ones who have been, the ones who, for whatever reason, have not sought or acquired resident status or legal status, you can't get rid of them. Do you know what this is going to do? If this is true. You see, the thing I see sometimes, and maybe it's just me. First, you got to understand a couple of things. Number one, I'm not a Republican. I'm a registered independent. I don't even know what these parties mean. They mean nothing to me. That's number one. Number two, after 4 years of this horror show and how we dodged a bullet, and president as well, no pun intended, with that quemada, for all my Latino friends out there, that quemada, there is virtually nothing the president can do that in any way could make me, either vote Democrat. I mean, there's no such thing as that. The Democratic Party is dead. The Democratic Party is through. Whatever they were years ago with FDR or JFK, it's over with. It's done. These people are crazy. They're out of their minds, and they have been subverted and subjugated to a form of almost like I guess you might want to call it like a virus that's taken over the party. Okay. But the president does some stuff that I just don't get. First of all, he had a pissing match with Elon Musk. I don't know what that's about. I have no idea what that's about. We need to renew Doge. What happened with that? Renew it. I know it was X amount of time. Renew it. We loved it. It was the greatest thing ever. It was at least the spirit of it. The best thing he has ever done is getting rid of U.S. aid. That's it. It's the best thing he's done. Period. Nothing else matters. It's the best thing he's done. Nothing else. There have been no arrests, no perp walks, nothing. Nobody arrested from Epstein. Nobody arrested. Fauci's off the hook. Mayorkas is off the hook. Nothing. A couple of judges were arrested here and there. This is the most piss-poor, awful version of any kind of justice I've ever seen. I don't know what that's about. That's number one. I don't know anything. But if it is, and I want you to pay attention to this. Now, remember, where are you going to find out about this? Are you going to go to the usual? If you say cable news, I don't know you. You're going to have to look for people who are on our side, who represent aspects of the, dare I say, the MAGA experience that maybe we should be looking to. Does this make any sense? Does this make any sense? I hope so. Because what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to put into words here is that I love this guy, but sometimes he scares me. And listen to what I'm saying. Do not fall in love with the man. Fall in love with the concept, the principle, whatever it is. I think he's a great person. I'm going to be very honest with you. He's a human being. He is being hit with stuff. that you can't believe. I don't think his crew, I thought when he came in this time, I thought he's got such a better crew. He's got the best of the best. He's got the best people. So far, the worst. I'm sorry to say this. This kills me to say this. Bondi, Patel, and Dan Bongino, the worst. The worst. They are so bad. Every time they open their mouth, Pete Hegseth, notice how he's quiet? Pete Hegseth says, I'm going to back off. Every time I say something, I get into trouble. I'll be over here. Thank you, Pete. Thank you. Christy Noem, remember her? She's Charlie's Angels. Hey, we're going to raid. She wants to wear the hair extensions and the little hat. And can I hold your gun? That is just pathetic. Somebody needs to reel her in and say, what are you doing? This isn't a fashion show. This is law enforcement. Poor Tom Holman, the guy who, bless his heart, nobody can understand. I think he was the only legit. He was terrific. Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller's the most interesting. Where's Stephen Miller? I don't know. See, you gotta pay attention for who's there and who's not there. Did you see Peter Ducey and poor Caroline Levitt? Caroline Levitt was actually, I realized what a potential BSer she is. They said, Caroline, what do you have to do with, Pam Bondi said that there is no list. After she said there was a list. After she said the Epstein list, was on her desk. You know what Pam Bondi should say? Beats the hell out of me. I have no idea what that's about. Move on. That's your answer? That's my answer. I have no idea. Why don't you ask Pam Bondi? Pam, what are you doing? Caroline Levitt's supposed to make sense out of this? Caroline Levitt has to look you in straight in the eye and say, Peter, I have no idea. That makes no sense to me. Don't let Caroline fall on the sword and lose her credibility trying to justify this. Because I don't think Pam Bondi, again, bless her heart, I don't think she knows what the hell she's talking about. I don't think anybody knows what they're talking about. Remember Bobby Kennedy? Bobby Kennedy said, Bobby, did they get to you? What happened? I thought this guy's going to come in and like gangbusters. Wait till you see what happens with like the vaccines and the autism. And oh my God. Right. Next thing you know, red dye number 3. What are you, Lou Bega? What is this? We got to make sure that the Fruit Loops, they don't have them in Canada. Bobby, what happened to you? What? You were a bull in the china shop. You were going to come after all these people. What happened? Well, No, I don't know. What happened? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking it over and What? What happened to you? Who got to you? Who scared you? Who scared you? What do I keep thinking? Maybe it's those files. Listen, Bobby Kennedy, bless his heart, love him to death. This is a guy who had a list of all his conquests. This poor guy's been through a hell in his whole life. I don't know what, listen, I wouldn't wish this job on anybody. I swear to God. He has some big names. Remember Dr. Oz? Got the gray hair? Hey, Dr. Oz, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? I don't know. I'm something. Marty McCary, great, terrific. What's he doing? I don't know. Then there's Dr. Mamaranjan. What are you doing? I don't know. I don't know. Hey, Carrie Lake, what are you doing? Voice of America. I don't even know what Voice of America is, but I'm here. Thank you. Seb Gorka, what do you do? I don't know. Who were these people? Well, they were big on TV. I mean, you know their names, but do they know what they're doing? Not really. No. So somebody needs to say, we need to have a meeting and we need to have some type of maybe a retreat or something to remind people this is what your job is. This is what you have to do. You have to make sure. And in the case of the Epstein files, I swear to you, if the answer is pure and unmitigated incompetence, I would feel better while feeling worse. 800-848-9222. 800-948-9222. Your thoughts and comments. I know this is heavy, but yesterday, I swear to you, I'm thinking, I don't know what to believe anymore. I swear to God, I don't know what to believe. And I don't want to lose faith because I don't have anybody else. Mr. President, I don't have anybody but you. That's it. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. You can find me always, if you want to reach me, at lionelmedia.com. That's my website. That's how you can reach me. Also, Lionel Media on X. You can get, that's where the news is. I hate to tell you that. It's not on cable news. You know that, right? And also, you can join me on July the 19th at the Cutting Room in New York City. Tickets are available online, and I mean that. Let's go back to the phones, back to the fun. Edgar in the Bronx. Edgar, you're next.
Lionel. Hi, how are you, Lionel?
Good, sir.
Yes, 3 quick points. I'm not going to take a lot of time.
Okay.
I was listening yesterday to the program, so
okay.
Some of what I have to say is connected to what the content of the program
Certainly.
yesterday. You wanted to hear something that made you laugh, right?
I would. And so far, you are winning me over, sir.
Oh, great. Anyway, this doctor is looking for his patient.
This is a joke we're doing now? This is a joke?
Yeah, the joke first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love your delivery. I love it. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. This doctor is looking for his patient because he has some awful news to tell him.
Uh-huh.
Runs into him in the supermarket. He said, "Oh, Mr. Parker, I'm so glad I'm seeing you. Unfortunately, I have bad news and worse news to tell you." And so Mr. Parker says, well, what's the bad news? I say, well, you have 48 hours to live.
Uh-oh.
And then Mr. Parker said, what can be worse than that? I said, I've been trying to reach you since yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. That's like the good news, bad news jokes.
Yeah.
Good news, bad news. The bad news is we're going to amputate your legs. Good news is the guy next door wants to buy your slippers. Remember that one? All these old.
Yeah.
But I think half of it's the delivery.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, Is that why you called, Edgar? Didn't you have something about you had a question on secession?
Two very yes. 2 very quick points. The first one being, does any state within the United States have the constitutional right to secede from the Union?
No.
Okay.
The state. Okay. No, states cannot legally secede from the Union. The idea of secession, as you know, states breaking away from the United States to form their own sovereign nations, of course, was settled once and for all by the Civil War and the Supreme Court in 1869 in Texas against White. It cannot be done. Now, there have been times they had the Texas nationalist movement, California independence or Calexit, Pacific Northwest called the Cascadia, New Hampshire Free State Project. These became political fantasies. It could happen only if there was a constitutional convention that creates a new framework. If armed conflict and collapse of the federal system, as in other failed states, and mass national consensus. But no, it cannot happen. It will not happen under any stretch of the imagination. Put it this way. People still believe that January 6th amounted to an actual secession or secessionist conspiracy. That's not the word. Anyway, so it cannot happen, sir.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
The third point is from yesterday.
Yes.
We had the gentleman who was snoring.
Yes, we did.
And I was thinking all this. Under what grounds could he sue anybody for being privy to that?
Sue? He calls a radio show, consents to being on the air, falls asleep, and basically that snoring becomes the call. Then comes on the air and says, yes, I've done this before, and had a wonderful time talking about it. Sue?
Okay.
No, there's a thing called consent. You would have a difficult time doing it. What? That is one of the strangest calls I've ever heard in quite a while. Alrighty. Now, did you hear the latest regarding Mamdani? Mamdani strokes Italian-American outrage after resurfaced tweet shows socialist giving the finger to the Christopher Columbus statue. I'm going to try to say this as nicely as I can. If you think these stories placed in the New York Post is going to make any difference whatsoever, you are out of your minds. What are you doing, whether it's Eric Adams or whoever, to address his same constituency? What are you doing? They represent more people than anybody else. Let me say this again. This guy, a week or so before the election, visited 135 mosques in New York City. 135. What are you doing? What are you doing? What do you think this is? Let's just go and say, hey, you're a commie. Okay. That'll win. That'll do it. What do people think elections are? This guy scares the hell out of me. And you know what else scares me? Are the reactions when people say, I don't know. Well, we just, common sense will prevail. What? What are you talking about? Did you see his social media program? Oh my God, it was the most brilliant thing I've ever seen in my life. He had languages I've never heard of. It's the most incredible thing. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And what I find even more incredible than anything else is how everybody just seems to be looking around and saying, I don't know. Let me ask you a question. At 30 past the hour, on the other side of midnight with Lionel, what do you think elections are? I'm serious. I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not trying to be, what do you think they are? What do you think it's about? Tell me. What do you appeal to? Do you appeal to common sense? What do you tell them? Let me give you a couple of ideas. Number one, an election is making somebody think that you're on their side. That's number one. And today, if you've got a gimmick, if you're young, if you're talented, let me go back. Do you remember when de Blasio, and other people listening across the country might not know this, do you remember that when de Blasio was running for office? I'll never forget this as long as I live. They were doing some kind of I don't know what the word is. What do you call it? What the hell do you call it? A focus group. And they were looking at him, his house or whatever it was. And he just, that was the strangest guy with his wife. Remember that she was a lesbian, then she's not. I don't know what the hell. Anyway, the daughter. And then they said, hey, who's that? I'm not kidding you. Oh, that's his son, Dante. No. What's that? What do you mean, what's that? That thing on his head. You mean the afro? An afro! Wow! This is before Questlove and whatever. And I remember saying, what are they getting so excited about? It's an afro. Yeah, I know it's an afro. So what? Wow. And then they came out, and he's like 6'9". He's the only guy who kept he actually understated his height. He was actually growing. And they tried to be, his name's not de Blasio, it was Wilhelm or whatever the heck it was. Who cares? But everybody kept saying, that's de Blasio's son. Look at the afro. He's got an afro. Oh my God. And he went from public advocate, which nobody understands what the hell that does. That's number 2 in the charter. Nobody knows what. Since the days of Mark Green, and even then, nobody knows what the hell the public advocate is. What do? I advocate. Publicly. For whom? I don't know. This is when I said, oh my God. Oh my God. Elections have nothing to do with logic. Elections have nothing to do with anything that you are right or wrong. It has a lot to do with who's the candidate and where are you going. I don't care who you are. But you can be the greatest conservative moderate there is, and you're not going to win in Berkeley or you're not going to win in certain parts of whatever. You're just not going to do this. And I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with common sense. So what are we trying to do? And what is being done to counter Zoran Mamdani? What? I don't know. I don't know. What's your angle? What is it? He knows exactly what he's saying. You take him on head on, and you go to the very and it's not just about now, unless you can find a scandal, unless you can find something somewhere. If you think pointing out little things he said in the past, or maybe, hey, when he applied to Colombia, whatever, he said he was African American because that's not going to do it. You go on and you go to his strength and you neutralize him. You've already got your people, right? Let me try this again. In the Gaussian curve, so to speak, there are three groups of people. One, the people who love you and are going to vote for you. Do not concern yourself with them. You already own them. Number two, the people who will never vote for you. Don't concern yourself with them. It doesn't matter. And three, and here's the important part, the people in the middle. The independents, the undecideds, the folks who can be poached from the other side. That's the group you want to talk to. And that's the time. So what do you tell them? You tell them what they want to hear. Do you lie? Yes. Yes. Politics is lying. Now you can say, that sounds terrible. I'm sorry. Tell them whatever they want to hear. I don't care whether you believe it. Later on, you can adjust it, reel it back. You always change your mind. Hell, look what's going on right now with Epstein. President Trump is showing you, Pam Bondi, you have to lie. Politics is about deception. It's making people think they want something. It's going after their sense of desire, not their intelligence, not their sense of patriotism, but the sense you've got to make them think they want this model. Pamela in New Jersey, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning. Prior to Lincoln, I believe it was legal to secede from the Union. Lincoln took away a lot of federal rights during his time. I'm not just talking about the Civil War, but I believe before the Civil War, it was legal to secede. It was made a crime at that point.
It might be, for example, if at the time the Union was so tenuous, so loosely cobbled, nobody knew really the idea of it being a republic, a union. It was a wonderful idea, but when you say it was legal, I think it might be better to say it wasn't illegal. It wasn't anything. There was right. This was this loosely this patchwork of states, and you had the breadbasket of the country and the South, and slavery was a huge part of the economy. That was a part of it. So it's not that it was legal or illegal. That's not the story. Now let me also ask you this question. Do you think, and this is my favorite, do you think that the Confederates were traitors?
Well, that's not even my point. The point is...
No, I'm changing the subject. No, but I'm asking.
Right, but that's not my point. My point was it wasn't illegal prior to the
We
Civil War.
already said that. We've answered that question, and we're moving on to the next. The question was to answer, to develop your point.
Well, that's a whole other topic, which I don't feel.
All right. Okay. This is what's the problem. This is the problem that we have, ladies and gentlemen. This is the problem that we have with people who ask a question, you answer the question. The notion of it being legal, illegal, doesn't apply. Very clearly made. The country was it was like this kind of a loose patchwork of ideas. Okay, fine. I'm trying to make the next point because I remember one time talking to my dear friend Curtis Lewa on WABC, and he referred to the Confederates as Johnny Reb. And I said, you do know that they weren't traitors. They thought the Union were traitors, that for us to say to secede, it's a different story. You got to ask yourself, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? That's where I was trying to go with Pamela, but she said, but that's not why I called. I said, no, we're not. We're moving on to the next. Well, that's not what I said. No, we're going on. Because the idea of one step further, let me go a step even further if I could. When you have when you have a statue of somebody who was Stonewall Jackson, was this a traitor? Can you in this country have a statue to someone who represented the Confederate States of America? Do they enjoy hero status relative to the time? The answer is yes. Not to the victor. You don't eliminate what they've done. You don't eliminate at that time relative to them. These people weren't crazy. These people weren't demented, the South, the Confederates. And see, that's where I was trying to go with this, because when you talk about secession, you have to say, well, secession wasn't illegal. But the question is, was secession right? That's the thing. This is the most important part. Let me give you another example. This is my favorite example. Let's assume that I have a guest speaker at our monthly luncheon for the Kiwanis or the Sertoma, whatever the hell it's called. And I say, I have a Vietnam general, very decorated, a decorated general from the Vietnam War, who's going to be our guest. His name is General Win Von. Wait a minute. Who is he? Oh, he was the NVA. He worked under General Jap. Wait a minute. He's what? He's not a hero. Oh, yes, he was. Yeah, but he's the enemy. No, we were the enemy to him. We went to his country. We bombed and attacked his country. As far as he's concerned, he's their hero. In fact, military generals, which is redundant, I guess, will say that he was one of the greatest generals ever. This is General Jap, who did things that nobody ever even thought of. You see this haughty supremacy that we think? We always think of things through our own mind, through our own perspective. We see things our way. Give you another example, the most important. At the time when we were concerned with this red scare and the notion of a communist, do you know what the communists were right after World War I? The Communist Party, what they were concerned with, do you know what they stood for? Anybody care to venture a guess? Of course not. Why? Because you're told they are bad no matter what. Russ in White Plains. Russ, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. I had hoped you were going to probe Pamela about New York City becoming the 51st state.
No, because she said, Russ, repeatedly, that's not why I called. And I can only take so much of that before I say, enough of this. I'm tired of this.
Well, I hope I can give you enough to go on. But, Lionel, when you say that Mamdani is energetic, he's effective, he knows what he's saying.
No. You missed the point.
Okay.
He is attractive to his core. They love him.
Yeah, I understand it.
Yeah.
I'm part of that core. But I think they'll come up with some girl that he played grab ass with.
Do you like him? You said you're part of that core. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I vote in New York City. I take care of my mother up here at night. But I vote in New York City. That's where I've lived. So I voted for him. My wife and I went down and voted for him gladly. And
tell me why.
Because he's going to change the whole world. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a billboard. What starts in New York City shapes the world. This guy This guy is not the squad. He's not that clown Bowman who pulls fire alarms, in Congress. This guy is serious, and that's why he terrifies people. But I want to ask you, Lionel, when people, these commenters are saying that, he's a racist against white people because he wants to tax the rich people, who are mostly white, and they should pay their fair share to reduce deficits and increase happiness. Do you think that that's playing the race card when they say that?
First of all, I don't accept that. That's a specious argument. Mm-hmm. Do you honestly believe that he is going to? You've heard what he says, where he's the free buses and he's going to somehow, I guess by virtue of some magic, he's going to defund the police. Mm-hmm. You know that's coming, right?
That's ridiculous. He's not going to do that.
Yes, he is.
Those other things. Lionel, they're aspirational. Okay?
No. Wait. No. He wants to. If ever there's anybody who can kind of do that, you're misunderstanding. He wants this world. I mean, but let me ask you this: are you socialist? Would you consider yourself a socialist?
I'm a Marxist, but what does that have to do with a social democrat?
Let me start. What is a Marxist? Tell me why you're a Marxist. This is fascinating, and I'm serious. What does a Marxist believe, and what is your? If you had your way, what would you have done?
In a nutshell, a scientific socialist, which is what a Marxist is, discards utopian socialists who go for pronouns and everything else. This is a class structure, and people get sidetracked with identity politics.
Okay, this may sound, I don't understand what that means. Do you believe in the planned economy?
I certainly see it works. As state capitalism works in China.
Let me try this again.
Pretty well.
You want us to be like China?
I'm pointing out their other systems, and when they point to Venezuela and Cuba,
You're not answering my question. You're being kind of like Pamela. You're going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Do you want the government to seize private property, industry, means of production, factories? Do you want a planned economy, classic, prototypical socialism? Yes or no?
Social democrats don't want them to
Let me try this again. That's social democrats. Talking about you. Not talking about him. Talking about you.
Thank you. Okay, me. Yeah.
You.
No,
What do you?
I don't want to see that happen.
Well, you're not a Marxist.
Well, I'm not an expert on Marxism. I like to read Marx.
So wait a minute. You said I'm a Marxist. Then you say, well, I'm not an expert on Marxist. I like to read Marxism.
Right.
What is Marxism? There's a little bit about it, I think, when you talk about class structure, which may or may not be somewhat palatable. But let's talk about the essence. Are you anti-capitalism?
I see that the ruling class, capitalism have excesses, Lionel. Do you think the excesses of capitalism, like Teddy Roosevelt, the Republican...
Let me try this again. You're not answering my question.
Well,
are you against, should capitalism be abolished? You are a Marxist. You cannot coexist with capitalism if you're a Marxist.
Yeah. It's a process. A Marxist sees the end of capitalism as an end result, but everything in between.
Do you want the end of capitalism?
Yeah, I want the end of exploitation of the
Let me
working
try
class,
this again.
yes.
Let me try this again. Capitalism, you're saying, is exploitation.
That's correct.
What do you think gave our country its? You must admit, in terms of its. For 260 years, it's amazing out of nowhere. 250 years, I should say. But where do you think that came from? Our socialist bent or our capitalist bent?
I think it came from slavery and genocide of the Indians. I mean, is that what you're referring to? Oh, sorry to catch you up there, Lionel. I mean, that's what happened. Okay?
Wait a minute. You're saying that America, up until 1865, whatever it was, that the reason why we're from 1865 afterwards, not the Industrial Revolution, not the 20s, nothing, but it was capitalism and the exploitation of the Native American, the elimination of the Comanche somehow cemented our superiority?
Yeah, that kicked things off and attracted a lot of people to come here. The riffraff.
Wait a minute.
Excuse the expression.
Killing American, the indigenous tribes.
Right.
Was a sign to the rest of the world to move here because, hey, good news, We got rid of the Native Americans? What?
Right.
Oh, excuse me, the indigenous tribes?
Right. Plenty of open land with nobody in it. Sound familiar? That's what happens. That's how. And then they kick off world wars. And have you heard about the Great Depression?
Yeah.
What about that?
What about
I live in the house where Frances Perkins lived when her husband killed herself. So I feel a connection spiritually to FDR and Frances Perkins and socialism.
So let me say something. I got to say something, and I appreciate this.
Yeah.
You are what is referred to, and I mean this, as a bumper sticker, let's say, socialist.
Well, thank you.
You know just enough to answer the questions without understanding really what you're saying. And I appreciate that. It's like there are people, it's like the people who wear the T-shirt, and like I'll see somebody like with a Che Guevara T-shirt, and I'll say, do you know who he was? Well, I kind of like to say it. Like maybe you like to wear a beret or, and I appreciate that. Russ, because we need you. Because believe me, nothing cements in most people's minds the absolute folly of Marxism than what you just spoke about right now. And I thank you, my friend.
Okay, I hope I don't end up on a slab.
No, listen, no, I'm good. Please call me again. I appreciate that.
Okay,
you're a jocular fellow. And that's important because basically, what he basically said is that he is full of, big time. Absolutely septic, teeming over, not a clue. Sounds good. It sounds terrific, but it's insane. But remember, that's what the other side sounds like. And this is the other side of midnight. But Marxism, listen to me very carefully, is built on this idea that humans somehow are naturally cooperative. That we're altruistic. And we're willing to work, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs and blah, blah, blah. That's fantasy. There's another word for what it is, but I can't say it. Human nature, we aren't wired for this utopian nonsense. It sounds great, wonderful, this utopian equality. We're wired, listen to me, human nature for self-interest, incentive, competition. If you remove the incentive to work harder or innovate, productivity collapses, and that's it. You can talk all you want about this. Under Marxism, there's no private ownership. Think about this. No market pricing, no profit loss feedback loop. That means there's no way to measure what people actually want or how much things should cost. And the result of this, massive shortages, waste, black markets, from bread lines, remember that in the U.S. and the Soviet Union, to Venezuela's toilet prices. Oh, no, people say, no, Venezuela's terrific. I'm sure it has. It's wonderful. And there's always somebody who says, no, Venezuela's terrific. Why don't you go to Venezuela? I know this sounds crazy, but if something is so terrific, go there. Marx supposedly promised that once the bourgeoisie, were overthrown, that the working class would rule, that somehow the working class would rise to the top. So what really happened? Well, you got Lenin, you got Stalin, you got Mao, you got Castro, you got Pol Pot. Every Marxist regime, every single one, broke down and devolved into an authoritarian nightmare. Why? Because when you abolish private property, and you silence the other side, you silence, in essence, dissent, and that requires force. And once you give the state unlimited power, it never gives it back. And Marx reduced everything to this simplistic, this dualism, or I guess you maybe call it a binary, rich versus poor, oppressor versus the oppressed. That's easy to sell. For angry mobs and people with bad T-shirts, but it ignores and overlooks complexity. Things like ambition, innovation, voluntary exchange, middle-class mobility. Most Americans didn't inherit their wealth. They earned it. And Marxism always assumes otherwise, which is false. It's never worked. It's failed every single time. Soviet Union, Maoist China, 45 million dead? Cambodia under Pol Pot, remember that? East Germany, North Korea. Tell me where it works. So I appreciate this. I don't want to sound like a civics lecture. I just don't want to. But it's like, this sounds great, and it sounds romantic, and it sounds. It's like you saying, we should be able to leave. I know this is a different issue now. We should be able to leave our windows and our doors unlocked. That's true. We should be able to, but we can't. It doesn't work that way. See, only in a capitalist society like this great country could an immigrant arrive with $20 and build a business empire. We've seen it millions of times. Andrew Carnegie, go down the list. Elon Musk. No other system has ever produced a middle class as broad, as prosperous, as upwardly mobile as this country's. Karl Marx predicted that capitalism would lead to the rich getting richer and everyone else staying poor. And listen, there are some excesses, but not so much because of capitalism, because of this thing called human error. Or human nature, excuse me. You might call it human error. And if you could figure a way how to work through that, let me know. So do me a favor. I realize this. I know that maybe sometimes when it's really easy when your mommy has a $2 million loft and you've been handled this stuff. And by the way, the real question behind Ma'am Danny is, who's really behind him? That's what I know. Because if you think this guy on his own said, I'm going to forge ahead, completely independent, not backed by anybody, on my own, not backed by evil forces seeking to disrupt and disgorge the country from our foundation. If you think this guy is legit, you're out of your mind. And that's the reality. That doesn't fit on a T-shirt, by the way. I'm sorry to say. The third hour coming up on the other side of midnight with me, your new best friend, Lionel. Come on in, say hello. Hi, how are you? Sit down. Have a seat. Join the fun, the frolic, the mayhem. I'm not trying to explain to you what goes on in my deep, dark, dank, violently, intellectually violent world regarding politics. Oh, you don't want to. I don't have the heart to do it. I can't. I really don't. I kind of tone it down because I just don't think you're up for it. I mean that. I'm not trying to be cute. I just don't think you're up for it. Because I am so monumentally radical because I reject everything that is being presented as conservative. And I'm not even conservative. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm dead serious. I don't know what these words, they're kind of like, when people say, hey, what's that? That's jazz. Okay. Yeah. What's Toto? Is that jazz? Oh, Steely Dan, is Asia jazz or rock? Is that country or folk? Is that bluegrass or mountain? Wait a minute, hang on. Is this rock or rockabilly, or is this torch and twang, or is this honky tonk? You see, when I get into any time I mention a name of something, I destroy it because you're going to be spending your time. Well, what is this? What is this? How does this fit in? What is this called? I don't know. I don't know what it's called. I don't know. So somewhere along the line, the great Rush Limbaugh came out, and the conservatives. And I remember I was just getting involved in talk radio just at the time that Rush Limbaugh came along. And I didn't know who these people were. And the liberals. I go, who are the liberals? Who are these terrible people? Get rid of these people. Get rid of these people. By the way, my 9th spam commercials. I want to tell you, spam is really big. It's big. Kids are eating it. And they got spam classic. They got spam Korean barbecue. Spam. Spam doesn't even care. Bobby Kennedy won't even address spam. There's nothing. Spam gets a pass. If I say, you know what's in spam? Yeah, I know what's in spam. Well, that's kind of like our politics. Our politics is like spam. We don't know what the hell it is. We think we do kind of sort of like, I don't know. Well, it's not that. What are you? Well, I don't know. I'm not. And we base our politics in terms of what we watch. Well, I'm Fox News. You're CNN. Well, you're a liberal. What? And that's what Rush Limbaugh did. The liberals. And the words mean nothing. My rules are very simple, in case you must know. I start off with this rule. The Constitution. I know it sounds boring. That's the rule book. If ever you wanted to say, what does it mean to be an American? Follow the Constitution. Follow it. That tells you exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. The Constitution. And the Constitution's a bitch. It is so dry. It is so hardcore. It doesn't care who you are. If it's not in there, or if it's not susceptible, not good. But the Constitution, like Nino Scalia said one time, it was like the Prego sauce commercial. There used to be a Prego tomato sauce years ago. And the story was somebody said, hey, that's not Italian marinara. That's got to have basil. It's in there. What about garlic? It's in there. What about oregano? It's in there. It's in there. That's what Nino Scalia believed about the Constitution. People think it's in there. It's not in there. It's not in there. Not. So somewhere along the line, if you're these people, they moved into our country and they say, I want to take this United States over. I want to control it. I want their wealth. I want their productivity. I want their soul. I want their heart. I want everything. I want to destroy them from within. What do we have? Okay, we got two parties. And the shadow government is what I talk about. Not the deep state, the shadow government. The shadow government says, I'm going to go after whatever it is that will destroy you. I'm going to go after your family. I'm going to go after your sense of religion. I'm going to go after whatever it is. I don't care what it is. And I'm going to create these people that are the subversive. Now, the old days, the left, remember, imagine coming out of World War I. You've just fought the war to end all wars. And you have the bonus. They said, what about our money in it? Nothing. You had tents. Remember, MacArthur was going to go in and level all of the protesters in D.C. I mean, take them out. And communism came about. This is before communism had a bad name. Before it had a bad name, nobody knew what that. No, it's always understand the perspective. And then something happened. I don't know what it was. During the 60s, liberals were kind of good. End the war. Civil rights, gay rights, human rights. Yeah, I like that. And Republicans were kind of like stodgy. You know, your dad at the country club with a station wagon with a wood on the side. And very Goldwater. And then things changed. All of a sudden, things changed. Remember around 72, Nixon and the Southern Solution, this is a good one. Strom Thurmond, all the Dixiecrats, they were pissed off. They felt completely abandoned by the Democratic Party. Democratic Party was, remember, the Klan was the Democratic Party. They said, what's this? Nixon says, listen, come to our side. Join the Republicans. Join the Republicans. We'll take care of your thing. Really? Oh, yeah. Well, you know, civil rights, we're not too keen on that. Neither are we. Come on in. And later on, well, I'll work on like gun rights people. Come on in. Big tent. Ronald Reagan, let's go after the moral majority. Let's go after these people. The religious right. Come on in. And then the Tea Partiers. Come on in. The Constitution. Yeah. And it was great. And then Rush came along and solidified it that we were better, and the right wing and the conservatives and the American, and God bless Ronald Reagan and the flags. And think about the symbology, the semiotics. It was fantastic. Think about what it was. What was the symbol? What was the symbology of the Republicans? The flag, the family, God, the cross, the old rugged cross, the Constitution, the prayer book, the church steeple, mom, dad, apple pie, Opie, Mayberry, yeah! And the left, abortion, peace signs, doves, and dirty feet, and dope, and free sex, and that, right? That's the way it was packaged. And that packaging was perfect. And it kind of didn't really change, so to speak. So then it really took off. And leftists were kind of boring for a while. Nothing really that big. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere came this thing called LGBTQIA and trans. Oh my God, that was it. That was it. We were off to the races. Do you remember around 2015, 2016, people were saying, we got to have same-sex bathrooms. And we said, what the hell are they talking about? That was the precursor. That was this group, this virus that took over the left. They said, we're going to go full tilt boogie on this one. We're going to go nuts. We're going to start saying that there's no such thing as gender, that men and women, and it's like, what? They went nuts. And they said, this is fantastic. Keep pushing it. We're not done with that. We're going to put men and women sports. That was their fight. And I said it then, and I said repeatedly, the thing I would run on, no matter what I ran for, no matter what it is ask yourself this question. Do you want some naked dude walking around nude in your daughter's swimming team or class? That's it. Everybody, black, white, even gay folks didn't like that. That was it. They handed us that one. And it's still, it's kind of sort of, it's not going away. Oh, no. So the left right now is just, I don't know what they stand for. Then here comes Joe Biden. Do you know what a friend of mine says? He's a Washington insider. Works there now, and they all know this. He says, do you know what we all know now that we knew then, but we really know now? Joe Biden was never in office. He was in Rehoboth Beach. He was handcuffed to some kind of a radiator in some root cellar in Wilmington. He was not there. They auto-penned him the whole time. And it might have been because they compromised his son. It might be because they have, the laptop. Who the hell? Remember the Wiener laptop? Remember that famous one, which we never talk about anymore? Think about this. For 4 years, there was no Joe Biden. These people were so great. They said, not only do we believe in this demented world of adding men into, women's sports, but we're going to have this guy walk out of his tree, and we're going to look at you and say, sharp as a tack. The Democratic Party will never be able to recover ever again from that. They have no idea how far they went. They have no idea. They are so gone. They even left, the leftists. There are other aspects in the Middle East and others which I do not, which I will spare you. They have been so fractionalized, it's not even funny. This is the time for whatever this counter-revolutionary is, whether it's right-wing, Republican, conservative, I don't know what you want to call it. But Mr. President, do not lose this opportunity. You have the opportunity, my friend, to do something which nobody has the chance to leave a legacy. What is going to be your legacy? You know how we revere Ronald Reagan? We could do that with you, sir. This is called taking him to the mountain. When I was just out of college, I worked for a U.S. senator, and I was privy to a lot of these meetings. At one time I met, and there was a guy they were trying to lure to run for office. And the guy who was kind of like my mentor of sorts said, I want you to see this. We're going to take him to the mountain. We're going to take him to the mountain and show him the world. Like, this could be yours if you do it our way. And we tap into his dreams and his aspirations. Donald Trump is a very proud man. Donald Trump escaped death. Donald Trump probably suffers from a mild form of, at least, of PTSD. You have to. And Donald Trump is going to blow his legacy if he doesn't tighten his belt, shape up, and straighten up, and tighten his act, or whatever you want to call it, because he is making so many unforced errors, it's not even funny. And somebody's got to get to him. And I think we're the ones to do it. Our number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. We're going to go to your phones and your calls. We're going to go to Michael and Lauren and Ron and Mike and everybody else standing by as we go into this thing that we call now the other side of midnight with Lionel. Michael, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, thank you for taking my call.
By the way, Michael, before we begin, how about that thing I'm seeing on X of that shooting that occurred, this wild West shooting? Have you seen this?
No.
Oh, well, you have to. You do know that, I hate to say it, but X or Twitter, that's the fastest delivery system for news there is. Left, right, whatever. And they show these folks. They're on a porch or some type of set. I think it was on July 4th or 5th, and a couple of days ago. And all of a sudden, somebody starts shooting, and people are ducking. And it is a full-blown Wild West shootout. It's all over the world. And that's sad, because Philly's a great town.
It's terrifying. So is New York City, my favorite town.
Indeed.
I'm from Philadelphia. I love the Big Apple up there. But I have so many questions to ask you. You are a class act. The way you handled that so-called Marxist, you made me. So it's what made me call. I don't know where to begin. First of all, FDR. I am a with all its warts, capitalism is the only game in town. Period. And what you said is so right on. You really are a breath of fresh air. I pray that you stay on the air. And I love Curtis up there. I love Sliwa. I want to even send him a few bucks. I'm a poor person. I want to send him. Yeah, I think he's the only. Even Roger Stone and Greg Kelly endorsed him. I mean,
let me tell you something. Curtis is a good man. I've known him for over 30 years, and he is legitimate, and he's smarter and wiser than anything he ever lets on. And I know that may sound strange, but it's true. You know this guy Mamdani. This is a guy who brags. Listen to this. He brags about somebody he wants to end capitalism. Now listen to this. In the nation's financial capital, the engine, the wheelhouse that pays for every city program, from cops to classrooms, he wants to end it. And this upset that he had was celebrated by the Democratic Socialists of America. And if you look at people like Bernie Sanders, AOC, and you ask them, what is it about your lifestyle, especially AOC, the money, the wealth, she's living, how do I say this? It's imagine being calling yourself a vegan and you're not a vegan. Imagine yourself calling yourself a Christian when you're an atheist. These people are not socialists. They are anything but. It's like they use their political ideology as a T-shirt, as a slogan. They don't really mean it. You know, they're so phony. And also, what are you doing in the United States? I hate to say it, if you're truly a democratic socialist. I got to tell you one more thing. This guy Mamdani, he wants city-owned grocery stores, one per borough, as a pilot. He calls it a pilot to undercut private grocers. Even the Washington Post, this is no conservative rag, calls the idea crazy, noting, and this is the most important, grocery margins average maybe 1 to 3%. So the only way City Hall could compete is by selling at a loss. So soaking taxpayers, wiping out neighborhood bodegas, it's insanity. People don't anybody who thinks you own a grocery store, you think they're making money hand over fist? The margin is nothing. So wouldn't it help to, but you know what? But if you're talking to people who, with all due respect, Michael, people who aren't the sharpest knives in the drawer, people who might be old, people who might be on fixed income, people who might be uneducated, and maybe somebody who likes somebody coming. Let me ask you this. If I ran for mayor of Philly or something, and I said, people named Michael from Michael, one who was like God, should deserve a 25% tax cut. Now, even though you would say, you know what? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard, but I'll take it because I'm named Michael. And even though it's unfair, if it benefits me, I'll take it. That's what these people think. He goes to neighborhoods and they're saying, look, I don't care whether this makes sense or not. Somebody's talking to me. Okay, if you think you're going to lower my rent or freeze my rent or give me free buses. The best part about the bus rides is that people are jumping on buses as is. Nobody's paying for it anyway. They come in the back.
That's the truth.
So I appreciate the fact that he's trying something. But also, Michael, the people who are behind Mamdani are saying, listen, you go out there, and whether you win or not, we'll take care of you. This is going to be a slow process, and we're very patient. We'll put you out there first. Some people were probably maybe more radical left than he was, but he's got the smile quotient. He's innocent. He seems nice. He's like de Blasio with his son with the afro. See, that's the thing that people vote for. They vote for gimmicks. They vote for, this guy. Let me say something about this guy, Mamdani. He went to 150 or so mosques. This is brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, so if you want to go into this Soviet style stuff, good for you. Lauren in New Jersey. Lauren, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel.
Yes, Lauren.
Okay. Lionel, you are not only a truth teller, you are beyond intelligent.
Thank you.
You know history. You know the facts. And, with Russ, it's like you have a fly swatter in your hand and you're trying to swat the fly all over the room, running through the house. Okay, the fly is never answering you succinctly and clearly. But it also reminds me of, I watched this, Simon's Cat, the little comic Simon's Cat. Yeah. They're short little videos, and they're actually quite profound. And I watched one today, speaking of flies, and his owner is sleeping in the chair, and he's lying down, and all of a sudden he hears, and of course, long story short, he destroys the room completely, trying to kill this fly. The room is in complete and utter destruction. And in the end, he thinks he's done a good thing when he's trying to point into his mouth. Oh, now I want to, I want you feed me. Look what I did. But
may I add something right now to it? It's 30 past the hour on the other side of midnight. I'm sorry, I had to do that for you. Can I throw another one in for you? Another, and this is something really critical. There is something which is happening right now, and it sounds great. And I used to be of the persuasion when I used to call myself a libertarian. This was like in 1980. I don't know what the hell that was. It sounded good. Libertarian. And I remember Harry Brown was a good friend of mine. I liked him. I mean, a libertarian was a Republican who wants to smoke dope. Kind of like I believe people have the right to their own bedroom. And it meant nothing. It really means nothing today. It's kind of like Reason magazine, okay. But I remember saying that I believed that I was in support of legalizing and decriminalizing prostitution. Because at the time, it seemed to me, based upon what I thought I knew, that if two human beings wanted to contract sexually, who was the government to intervene, okay? Mm-hmm. Well, Mamdani, I think he sponsored this thing called Cecilia's Act, I guess, which would scrap nearly every statute against pimping and streetwalkers. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be looking at, eventually, it is the goal of these folks to turn New York City into, number one, the sex tourism destination capital of the world, to have open-air sex markets, trafficking spikes, torpedoed quality of life. You're going to see, I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to think I've lost my mind. But I'm going to tell you this, and mark my words. Somebody chisel this in granite. One day you're going to see, whether it's Times Square or someplace else, children for sale. Children. My wife she has linswarriors.org. I want you to go check it out. Right. It's all about trying to prevent sex trafficking, exploitation, digital safety.
Yeah.
And people are absolutely freaking out over what is happening. And there's something called the equality model, which makes a lot of sense, where you legalize prostitution from the viewpoint of the prostitute. What's happening right now is that a couple of things. I want you to imagine a multi-vectored thing. I want you to imagine you're sitting outside and the wind is coming from all different directions. In one direction, you're having this thing called the destruction of parental autonomy and parental primacy. We want to destroy a parent's ability to control what's best for his children. And that will be seen, in fact, is being seen right now in the cases where if a child comes to the parent and says, listen, I feel like a man, I feel like a boy, I feel like a girl. And the parent says, no, I'm not going to seek puberty blockers. They're pulled away, sent to CPS, and blah, blah, blah. That's already going on. In addition to, they want to lower and remove all impediments to sexual congress, marriage statutes regarding children. They want to take children and remove anything that would prevent them from being sexually commercialized, used, exploited. Now, I know you're going to say to yourself, now, he didn't say that. This is where it's going. Mark my words. Remember, Skinner taught us something. In operant conditioning, if you're afraid of something, and I want to break your phobia, let's say you're afraid of snakes. There's something called the implosion therapy where I throw a snake at you, and that doesn't work. But what I do is I get you to do successive approximation. I talk about snakes. I maybe show you a picture of snakes. Maybe we'll go to a zoo. Maybe you'll see one. Maybe eventually one day you'll pick one up that's not poison, and I will break you of your fear through successive approximations, successive moves, habituation.
You're desensitizing
exactly
the person.
And that's what he's doing now. And what we're doing is this shadow government is coming in and it's obscuring all of the rules of decorum, deportment. It's taking children and taking gender, sex, dating, romance, sexual agency, the ability to we don't want kids to be prohibited from experiencing all forms of eroticism, up to and including the commercial sale of their own bodies. If you think I'm kidding, you're going to see one day kids in windows. I know when I tell people this, I think you're out of your mind. So
no, Lionel, you're not. You're not, because another thing is most people don't even want to hear that industry, which it is is a it's a trillion gazillion dollar industry.
Let me
isn't
give
it,
you an
Lionel?
example. Let me give you an example of something. Let's make it real simple. If I want to traffic in cocaine, first of all, I got to go to some country that produces it, whether it's Bolivia or Colombia or wherever the hell it is. And then I've got to grow it, and I got to produce it, and I've got to buy off all the cops, and then I got to produce it and put them into bundles and fly it over here, risk life in prison. And then once I sell it, I got to go all the way back and start all over again. Now, give me a child. Just one. You know what I could make with that? You know what I could make with a kid at a truck stop?
Mm-hmm.
If I look at it, I can take, and as long as that, I will, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you sick to your stomach. Do you know what the premium price now, the premium age range for kids is? 0 to 2. Did you hear the story recently about some nurse or whatever who was selling horror pics? The violence today, what you're seeing. So let me go back to what I'm saying. I've got a kid, and until that child ages out, do you know how much money I can make? Just one. Just one. As long as that child's little body can handle it, or I don't kill it, or it doesn't age out, and then eventually in other countries, and I'm going to tell you this, and you're really going to freak out. Once I get done with a kid, organ harvesting. Let me tell you a story. My wife and I were in Washington. We're at a hotel, the meeting during one of her Lynn's Warriors, one of her programs, and we're talking to a fellow who was a chief of police or attorney general from some South American country. I don't know what it was. Anyway, he said that they were finding kids with their guts missing. He didn't know what it was. He thought it was some kind of weird voodoo until somebody said, wait a minute. Based upon the tying, these organs, kidneys were removed. And now, so I take this child. It's like the way I hate to use this example, the way you use a pig. I can use the trotters, the tails, the ears, the back, the skin. I can use everything but the oink. So I take a child and I can make millions. This is just one child. And I don't care about them. Remember, I take this child and it's born into this, and the market, in order for you to understand this, you must understand how evil and depraved humankind is. It's depraved.
That's the word I was going to use. People are, you might think somebody's nice, but their level of depravity behind the closed door is so vile and repugnant and evil that, yes, we don't even want to think about it or consider it because it is, like you said, so scary. You think, no, that would never happen.
I'm going to leave you with one thing. There was a story, I think it was Marshall McLuhan said that little lies are hard to keep secret, but big lies are easy because of our incredulity. Meaning, the worse the reality is, the easier it is for me to keep under wraps because you don't want to address it. You don't want to hear this. You don't want to think about that. Listen, Lauren, I thank you. Please call me again. I appreciate it immensely. Let's go to Mike in St. James. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hello, Lionel. The new candidate for mayor, Mondami. What do you think his position will be on shoplifting?
I will tell you, by the way, it's Mamdani, but that's okay. You call him whatever you want. He will be, first of all, he will most positively embrace the Soros facility called restorative justice. We will use everything in our power to not use carceral means of punishment, but to understand, to have him maybe make restitution, to have alternative sentencing programs, to have no bail no jail, that sort of thing. Kind of like Cuomo did. There will be we will castrate and defang the criminal justice system. So things like, especially lower things, shoplifting, the amount will be raised to, let's say, $1,000 versus $300. Oh, guaranteed. Remember during COVID? Remember when people were coming into like a CVS with big trash bags and just clearing off, shelves, and that's why everything now is behind closed doors. Remember that? I remember watching this. They came in off the streets, and nobody did anything. And I'm saying, why doesn't CVS or Walgreens or whoever it is do like you do at Costco? You've got one exit and somebody's standing there. Try barreling out. Try it. It's like nobody cared. Oh, you're going to see whatever you thought it was during our most liberal and lawless periods of time, it's going to pale by comparison. David in Pennsylvania, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. Happy back to last week, I guess, when you brought up what did you bring up? The unmoralistic moralization of child sex with children of all ages.
Right.
You beat that lady pretty bad, telling her how she could help with the situation worldwide as far as child human trafficking.
I really don't know what you're saying.
Go on from there. I don't like to see that either.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, the moralization of child sex is very damaging, extremely damaging. Either results in death sometime of the physical body, but psychologically, it would be very damaging for the future generations, those like 1 year old now that don't have to deal with the sexual predators. And perhaps in that near future, we can resolve some of the situations through government and personal people. The people are the government. So if the people do something about not being sexually moral with sex with kids, because under 18 at least, maybe even 25 in a lot of cases, you shouldn't have sex.
David, where are we going? I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand. I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but
you're right. You're right. Okay, I'm going to change subject.
Okay.
The shark spottings out of Long Island, off Long Island, were reported by your station at 3 o'clock, I think it was, this morning Eastern time. And
what is he talking
yesterday morning, the TV station.
Is this a rib?
Does New York City still dump its garbage off the coast of New Jersey and New York?
Well, there's a very simple answer for that. Carl in New Jersey. Carl, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yeah, I have an idea for finding out more about this geoengineering.
Beginning's luck. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, you get somebody really rich who owns their own private jet. You get that person to install a tube on that or something on the to go to the outside of the plane and sample the air.
They've already done this. What are you talking about?
They've done this?
They've already done this.
Okay, where can I read about that?
Oh, my God. Geoengineeringwatch.org. Geoengineeringwatch.org. Start with that.
Somebody has actually done this already.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I was like when somebody says they figure, I got an idea. Maybe this guy's crazy, but I got an idea. I got an idea. Here's something you never thought of before. Maybe you might want to look at what's being sprayed. I may be a kind of crazy idea, but once these planes are sprayed, why don't we have somebody behind them? Let's say maybe open up the window, maybe in a jet behind it, and open up the window and kind of suck up some of that stuff they're spraying and find out what the hell it is. Okay. My favorite is when they were suggesting that Marjorie Taylor Greene is into space lasers, and this is because people hate her so much, they're not listening to what she's promoting. See, this is where we are today. The left loves to call us conspiracy theorists because it's all they have. All righty. 800-848-9222. I'm going to try my best to reclaim my sense of bearing and focus, my sense of equanimity and equipoise after this. Let's go to Diane in Brooklyn. Diane, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. I want to tell you about a recent conversation I had with a Brooklyn College student, a very bright young girl, apparently bright, but we were talking about the situation in the Democratic Party in New York and things going, and I mentioned the pro-Hamas march that they had from Brooklyn College, and she said, "Oh no, that was anti-genocide." I mean, think about it. They're the very same people that they're marching for are the ones that did it. But that's besides the point. And I said, and she kept talking like that, and I said, I bet you're for Mom Johnny. And she goes, "Oh, he's so wonderful." Now, this is a young Jewish girl who's obviously not religious, but can you imagine this is what they're being indoctrinated with in the colleges? And she actually, "Oh, he's so wonderful." This is an outright Marxist and an anti-Semite that wants global intifada and wouldn't believe it. And today I had a home health attendant. They kept saying, "Oh, Trump only wants to help the rich." No matter what I said, no matter what, it's like these things that are in people's heads.
Well, one of the things you must do, and this is important, and you will never lose, is ask people the question like you are seriously interested in why, and watch how far they go. Now, when it comes to the Middle East, Israel, Hamas, Palestine, genocide, Zionism, good luck. Good luck. Thank you very much. The Democratic Party is going to be split in half already. And wait till you see what happens this week with Netanyahu coming and meeting with President Trump. By the way, in the left and the right, it is fractious. Without understanding, without taking a side, it is like never before. But the next time you ask somebody, ask them a question as though you're from another planet. Say, why do you like him? Yes. What is, and always do this. Always compliment them and set them up. You can say, "You know what? You seem like a very smart young woman. Maybe you can help me, because if anybody would know this, I think you would. What exactly is a democratic socialist versus a socialist?" And stop. Let her answer the question.
Oh, she started running away from me.
No, of course. But don't attack them. Act like you're truly interested. Don't say things like, "Do you realize he's a Marxist?" Say, "Oh, no. Maybe you can tell me." And while we're on the subject, what's the difference between a socialist and a Marxist? I never really understood that. Can you help me?
I'll tell you.
No. Listen to what I'm saying. This is what you tell her.
Right.
And you want to expose her into realizing, I don't know. Mamdani is a T-shirt to her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. It's a...
But excuse me. But see, see, the thing to her is that, oh, he's young and he cares for us and he wants to freeze the rents and he wants to give us all these things. She doesn't understand that they'll be paying for it with higher taxes through the roof.
Go back to what I'm saying. You're an attacker. You ask her, how do you think that would happen? By what authority does he freeze the rents? How does Albany work into this? Is he going to get the okay of Hochul? What do you believe of, what are your thoughts on restorative justice? What are your thoughts? Ask the questions, and soon you will find out, and she will recognize the fact she doesn't know what she's talking about. Listen.
Oh, she didn't. She absolutely didn't.
Diane.
She just thought he was so wonderful.
Diane. Were you ever young? Did you ever believe something that, and because people, friends of yours, you wore something, you had a T-shirt, maybe you had an upside down American flag, or maybe you had the peace sign, whatever it was. You
actually, I used to demonstrate against Vietnam down in front of the White House with the Quakers.
Well, isn't that great? Now, at that time, you were considered a radical, a lunatic, an anti-American commie. You know you were, right? There was nothing. You were correct. I think that's when the last time liberalism, if you will, made any sense. Just remember one thing. Whenever you're talking to somebody, ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish? Do I want to club them over the head? No. I want to expose them for what they don't know. I want to ask them questions over and over and say, explain this to me. Where do you think this is coming? I'd like to talk to you about these free, or these city-run, let's say, grocery stores. As I've already told you, this is an absolute fact. Grocers may make, 1 to 3% profit. If you go below that, they're going to be run on a loss. Who pays for this, and how do we pay for it? But you seem to know this, so answer me. Now watch their expression. That's for your perusal, review, and the like, for you to find out what's going on, to comment, sign up for the newsletter, all this other kind of stuff, and also to get tickets to July 19th when I storm the stage, grace the portals of New York's Cutting Room here in New York City, July 19th. You know what somebody said the other day? I want you to think about this. Did you ever see a baby pigeon? Did you ever see a nest of pigeons? Never. Where are they? Where do they go? Sometimes you hear a little pigeon. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute. This has been making me wonder, say, wow, this is really interesting. I don't see any other nests of any other birds, to be honest with you. So I don't know, but pigeons, where do they come from? And why are they still here? And how much do we really understand about their resilience? I guess. Or maybe not. In any event, let's go back to the phones. We're talking about this. I'm going to go back to this Mamdani thing. You know, remember when you were young? One of the best parts about being young is being so not, I don't know what the word is, I don't want to sound like the old guy. Because sometimes idealism is a good thing. And sometimes we don't like idealism. And we call them stupid. And they're not necessarily stupid. Maybe they see things differently. I don't know. I can't necessarily put things into perspective. But I will tell you this. That they see him as a smiling young man. A guy who's like, what a nice guy. What a nice guy. What a great guy. With a nice smile. And he seems to be so polite, and he's positive. And you know what? Maybe he said, the other day when this really got his attention. When everybody was asked I don't know why they would ask this question, where's the first place you're going to go? Remember during the debates, they asked the mayoral candidates, where's the first place you're going to go after you're elected? I thought, that's an interesting question. What do you mean, where are you going to go? Where's the first place you're going to visit? And they said, well, Israel, the Holy Land, Israel, first time. And when they came to Mamdani, he said, nowhere, I'm staying here. I'm going to work on the people of New York. People put it this way, loads of people loved that. They thought that was great because there's a number of people understand something. There's a number of people out there who do not necessarily appreciate the idea how America may be involved in extracurricular war activities in Ukraine because of NATO, because of Israel, because of whatever. Now, you may disagree with that. You may agree with it. I don't care. That's not what I'm saying. Understand there are people who like that. Then he went a step further. They said, what would you do regarding Bibi Netanyahu? Now he went full tilt. He said, I would arrest him. Well, first of all, you have no authority. You lost me there. Now, if you had any thoughts about the ICC or the ICJ, all right, that's one thing. I'll listen to you as a mayor. But you're going to arrest him? First of all, you have no authority to do so. And that's scary. You can't arrest the leader of a nation or a nation state or a state. You can't do this. So when he said this, is like, oh, okay, I got it. You had it. I thought you were kind of serious, but maybe not. You know what I mean? Maybe not. So, but remember something. What you believe to be important may not necessarily be the majority position, or it may be the minority position. Doesn't mean you're wrong. See, there was a time in this country, somebody mentioned before, the Vietnam War. For you to be against the Vietnam War, you were un-American. Our brave men and women, or soldiers, for the most part men, were risking their lives, dying by the day, and you're marching against them? How dare you, you anti-American, you ingrate. See how that works? Interesting, isn't it? I think so. It fascinates me. Remember, it's not about what you think, it's what they think. Doesn't matter what you think is correct. Doesn't matter. And one more thing. Whenever you're dealing with anybody about anything, never attack them. Lower their guard. Compliment them. You can say, you know what, I appreciate this. You're a young person, and it's very good to see you very actively involved in politics. I got to hand it to you, Michaela or Marmaduke or whatever your name is. I got to hand it to you. Very good for you to be involved in mayoral city politics. And while we're on this subject, let me ask you a question. Maybe you can help me. By what authority would would the mayor do such and such? Fascinating, don't you think? I think so. Let's go back to the phones, back to what I call fun. Let's go to Rusty in Queens. Rusty, you're on the other side of midnight with a Lionel.
Thank you, Lionel. I wish Curtis wins, but forget about that. Suppose Adams and Cuomo win. What are you going to get from these people? Just, give me your, train of thought. It's going to be the same old stuff. Like me, I would say, forget about them. I'd rather have Mangari win, and then we'll go to war. And they need to, this country needs, the city, needs to learn a lesson. And they'll put it, I'll suffer for it. And a lot of other people will. But we'll get it over with.
What are you talking about? You're saying you want Mamdani to win, so we'll go to war?
No, I didn't say that. But what are you going to get
you did
with
say
Cuomo?
That.
What are you going to get with, I meant, you understand where I'm coming? What's Cuomo and Adams going to give us?
Well, versus Mamdani?
Yeah. No, I understand. I don't think. Right,
my question is simply this. Under no circumstances, let me make this very, very clear. I will take, let me put it this way. Rusty, let me show you how serious I am. I will take you over Mamdani. This is how this is how serious I am. I'm serious. This city cannot take this. I will take you as you are, knowing as little as you know over him. Huh? You know why? Because you're a good man, Rusty. You're a good man.
And you're a good man too, but
you're a good man. Demented out of your tree, but a good man. Paul in Connecticut. Paul, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning. Well, Democrats have already got the setup for the communists in New York. They got the migrants here in the tents. Now they need to set up some sweatshops. Go back in time. They had sweatshops. They make forced labor.
Tenements.
Secret police. They need a gulag. Where could they send these people to the gulag if they don't work? That's what it will come to. The secret police drag them out of their house in the middle of the night. I've heard about communism from my dad. He worked for a CIA in South America. He said when the governments fall.
Now, Paul, you know that these younger folks in particular are going to say, oh, Paul, there you go. You're overreacting. This is a good young man. We're not talking about communism. We're talking about democratic socialism. Paul, you got it all wrong. You got this reactionary. Paul, we're not going to see Pol Pot and Stalin and Mao anymore. We're not going to see that. These are different times. All we're trying to do is to show a little compassion. Show a little spread the wealth. People are living right now in the richest country in the world, and they're unable to afford their rent. They're unable to afford the niceties of life. They're unable. You see what I'm saying? And they'll say this.
Stockholm syndrome. They have Stockholm syndrome from these political science major classes, like Patty Hearst and the Sudanese Liberation Army. And
Paul, you're just throwing it at us left and right. Patty Hearst, the SLA. Remember SynQ with Donald DeFreeze? Let's go to Rodney in Pennsylvania. Rodney, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel.
Good morning, sir.
And you never see, when you're talking about the pigeons, baby pigeons, you never see baby seagulls or seagull nests.
I don't see any nests, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, just in general, nobody ever sees them. I've never seen them.
In general, what nests do you ever see? They hide.
Robins.
You see a robin's nest? You come across a nest? What are you doing? What are you in trees?
No.
You see, in general, the whole idea of the bird thing, I believe, it's a kind of interesting question. Anyway. You don't really see any birds whatsoever, but pigeons in particular. Don't you love their stamina? They're called squab, and they're always there. And also, you know what I hate? If I could be the mayor, I would pass a couple of laws. One law I would pass is simply this. You ready? One law I would pass would to show that. Have you ever seen people who throw breadcrumbs out on the street, and all of a sudden thousands of these birds will land with their pigeon crap and their pigeon, and they throw these, I want to take these people and I want to strip them down, handcuff them, and then pour crumbs all over them and say, here, you want to feed the birds? Let's do it this way. It drives me nuts. Just drives me crazy. Plus, I want to have a law that says we have 3 lanes of traffic in the city. And I've said this forever. The first lane is for people who are New Yorkers who know where they're going. This is on sidewalks, I should say. The middle line is for people who might be a little bit tenuous, a little uncertain. And the final lane is for people who are from out of town, who want to take pictures of buildings. You ever seen tourists who walk 3 abreast, 4 abreast on the street? No, you can't do that. People who stop all of a sudden at the top of a subway platform or the steps, they just stop. You can't do that. This is if I were president. I mean, a mayor or a president. Our number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. We'll return to your thoughts and comments, no matter how inane, germane, or insane, after this. I asked somebody, I think one of the funniest questions is, at least to me, is the how do I say this? Is the alphabet in that order because of the song? I think that's the funniest question. And sometimes when I say that, if you do not immediately understand that as being a joke, I don't want to know you. Some people say, no, actually the song is, okay, thank you. Like, what's another word for thesaurus? Huh? Well, no, a dictionary. No, thank you. If you answered the question, that's it. By the way, I'm looking up right now and I look at these poor people in the world of imagine having to do weather every single day. And I'm looking at the local weather. It's supposed to be some kind of it's going to rain or cold. I like to say coastal flooding. I get these alerts. Pollen alert, coastal flooding, heat index. There's always something to worry about. I think we'll be okay. No, coastal flooding. And this poor bastard's got to go every day and explain to you rain. It's going to rain like you've never heard, like you're not going to know what to do. Now listen, around noon. I don't know, maybe 1 o'clock, but let's stick with noon. It's going to rain. Maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches, I don't know. The winds are going to come out of the south. Who cares where the winds come out? What are we, sailors? What do I care where the winds come out of? I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means. Doppler wind. I don't know what the Doppler wind. Why are we doing this? We have a friend of ours who always starts his news. He says, if you're walking outside right now, or if you're leaving the house now, if you're walking outside, it's 83. If you're inside, it depends upon your time. But if you're walking outside right now, they used to have this person who says, bring your umbrella. It's like, don't even insult me with this. Don't insult me. I also don't like feels like. Feels like making love. Feels like. What are you, Roberta Flack? First of all, I don't say it feels like because you don't know what it feels like. How about it seems like? And I one time did a whole thing about whether it should be seems like. I think that's inappropriate because it's not really, remember, it's not how people act, it's how people behave. See, that's a new thing I'm doing. Take a synonym, split it, and if you want to sound like instantly profound, say, it's not what you eat, it's what you swallow. What? Just say things. It's not how you act, it's how you behave. Huh? It's not what you do, it's what you seem to do. It's what you pretend to do. It's and you just go on. Anyway, that's weather. Imagine going to audition for weather. Johnny, what do you want to do? I want to be a weatherman on TV. No, seriously. What do you want to be? No, I want to be a weatherman. I'm not kidding. Who does this? Is there a school to learn this? How about people who are the actual meteorologists? Why? Why do you want to be a meteorologist? Why? So I can understand this. You don't have to understand this. You're on TV. Now, if you're working at NOAA or something, you know who the most famous weather person ever was? The guy who worked on Normandy. That guy. You're in charge of, Eisenhower said, you better tell me, is it going to rain? Because I got a lot of people, I got 500,000 people, and their lives are lost. That guy I want to get to know. He said, I swear to you, it's going to rain, or the winds, because we got the gliders. What direction are the winds coming? Glad you asked that. Then it matters. Think about how much stupid stuff we go through on a regular basis. It's the most, it's just, and by the way, one more thing, and I'm going to tell you something. I hate when you are asked to give a survey of, I was trying to make an appointment for some doctor thing, and it was I don't know who, I got this poor guy from the Bronx or whatever, bless his heart, with all due respect. I don't think he understands. I'm trying to explain fluoroscopy versus ultrasound. I don't think he understood. And it was like, it's the worst. It's the worst. And I thought, this is the worst. I swear to God, I said, I'm going to complain. And I never really complained. These people they're just answering. I don't even know what country they're in. I don't even know where they are. But I said, you know what, this time I'm going to complain. And sure enough, as soon as I'm done, they say, on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being most of, how would you rate that last call? And I said, there is a God. I gave this guy 1s. Then I'm wondering, why am I doing this? Nobody's going to do anything with this. Hello, Geraldo? Yeah, listen, this guy just called you before. He gave you straight 1s. Does anything happen? Does anything happen? I got to tell you this much. You're going to love this story. Ready for this? There's a hospital in the Bronx. Well, it's like a medical facility. And in the garage, now listen to me. They loaded up with a lot of people. So many people that, let's say you're parked in your slot. There's a car parked perpendicular to you behind you. So they double park. They take the people who are in the slot. Have you ever seen this? I've never seen this in my life. No, tell me, seriously. Blaze, is this a New York thing? I've never seen this. I've been here. I've never seen this.
Double parking, like so you're blocked in the parking lot?
Yeah, in a parking lot. Like in a parking building, like, the fourth level. Garage, yeah.
They double, they'll pack all the cars in.
Yeah, I've never. So if you want to leave, there's a guy behind you. And where do you go?
Well,
they've got an attendant who's taking your money if you want to leave, but I can't get out.
Well, usually the attendant gets the car. Like, you don't go and get your own car.
You know when you go into a place and you drive in, you go to first level, second level, third level. You get out, you take your keys, and you leave. Then when you come back, you get your car and you drive out and you go past the attendant and you pay her, right?
Right.
That's the only person there. It's the person at the attendant. So,
I've never seen it in a self-parking.
Yeah.
Where they pack. Because how could you get past?
That's what I'm telling you.
That I've never seen.
I swear.
I thought you meant in a garage with an attendant. They just pack them in and
then
move the car.
I mean self-park. So I called this woman. I said, you do. He goes, yeah, I know. That's something. I said, you got to get here early. I said, wait a minute. This is my argument. I said, if I get here early, it doesn't mean somebody's not going to park behind me. In fact, I should get here later so I can tell whether. So if I come here at 8 o'clock and I come back and there's a car parked perpendicular to me, what do? I got to wait until this person comes back and goes, yeah, there's a lot of cars here. I said, excuse me, this is not how a garage works. How about if there's one next to him? In my entire life, I've never seen anything like this. But then she says, but we do have valet parking. I said, at a doctor's office? Yes. I said, how much for the valet park? What a scam. What a scam. I've never seen this in my entire life. I've never seen this. And they act like, well, what are you going to do? There's got to be a law against it. There's got to be some kind of warning or somebody that says, now listen, you better really want to come into this garage. You better really want to come in here because somebody decides later on to park behind you. And getting here early doesn't do anything. If you get here at 8 o'clock, you get back at 9 o'clock, there's a guy perpendicular to you. You are SOL, my friend. And don't expect us to do anything. Go talk to that woman who can barely speak English at the attendant. Go explain to her. What is she going to do? Grab a set of keys? Anyway, what am I talking about? I'm rambling at 30 past the hour. I'm rambling. I'm just rambling. You know why? Because I'm a rambler. Let's go to Mike in Las Vegas. Mike in Las Vegas on K-Dawn. Mike, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, man, you're awesome, dude. I stumbled across you a few weeks ago, and man, I love you, man.
Mike, how did you stumble? I like this. How did you stumble across me? I'm curious about that.
Well, my little radio I got, it's the screens busted, but I just listened. Stay up late. I heard you talking, and every night I can't wait for you every night. Now, man, you're right on the money, man.
Mike, what do you do in Las Vegas? But it's funny you say that. I have this guy emailed me the other day. He said he was asking whoever it is. What's the Amazon thing? It's not Siri, but the other one's Stella or whatever her name is.
Alexa,
yeah, right. So he says, Stella. He says, Alexa, put on, I think it was LBC, and it misunderstood. And he said, I got you. I said, okay, that'll do. So they got me, and you found me by accident. So there you go.
Right.
So tell me again, what do you do? Who are you?
I'm homeless. I'm
What?
a homeless guy in Las Vegas.
Homeless in Las Vegas?
Yeah, that's me, man.
Wow.
You wouldn't believe what you go through out here, you know?
Tell me about it. Are you like are you near the strip or anything, or do you?
No, I'm in the tunnels.
In the tunnels?
Yeah, but by myself, you know.
Now, I'm sorry, forgive me, I've never been to Vegas. I've never been, I'm sorry to say. Where are the tunnels? I mean, don't give your location away, but where are they?
They're underneath all of Vegas.
I had no idea. Do you see other people there as well?
Yeah, but not where I'm at. I mean, but there's thousands of people that stay in the tunnels.
Mike, what do you do during the day? Where do you bathe? Where do you? I mean, how do you?
I just get around to different people. Different people I know, and do a little work on the side. And you wouldn't believe what homeless people go through. My wife was with me until last July, and she passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, both of you are homeless?
Yeah, I'd never been with nobody else, so I'm trying to figure it out now from that. Yeah.
How old are you, Mike?
I'm 57.
57. And what did you do? Were you ever, I'm sure you were gainfully employed at one time?
Yeah, I own my own business. I was a flooring installer, and I got hurt really bad.
Did you have any other type of other problems, substance abuse or anything else?
Yeah. Well, they gave me any kind of pain meds I wanted for 20 years, and then they just took them away, and I'm still hurt. So just went from there, but it's nothing I'm proud of, but, it is what it is.
Well, you know what's funny? George Jones has a book called, I think his autobiography was, I've Lived to See It All, or I've Lived to Tell It All. And he always said, I'm not proud of it. That's my life. I'm not proud of it. But what are some of the misconceptions about the homeless? Because as you know, there are some people who just give up and just...
I'll tell you, I'm going to be blunt, all right?
Be blunt.
Look, the homeless are a bunch of dicks.
Here we go.
Okay. All right. But if people could see how they get treated,
right?
You know what I mean? People that go out of their way, and I'm especially Caucasians, the way that they treat the homeless. They'll lie on you. The police. Somebody could be stabbing me to death, and the police will come and arrest me. You know what I mean? And that's really how it is. And you just got to kind of don't get anybody's attention, and keep your head down and keep on keeping on. You know,
people will look.
I help people all the time. I don't steal from people. But if you could see how homeless people get treated, you wouldn't believe it.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because sometimes I look and I see this look of like hate, like look at you, look at me. I made it. What's your problem? Now let me ask you something, Mike. If I could somehow, hypothetically, appoint you as my Las Vegas homeless person, what would we do? What could we do to get people off the streets, to help people along? What would it take?
Boy, that's a tough question.
Some people would not get off the street.
80% of the people out here have serious mental problems, and they're off their meds.
What about you?
Me, I'm a drug addict. I mean, that's plain and simple.
What is your drug? I'm sorry. What is your drug? Pain medication, right?
I do opiates because I have real serious back problems. I've been through 4 major surgeries, and like I said, once they took my meds away from me, then I really had no choice.
How do you get your supply?
I could do odd jobs.
And where do you get your supply once you make the money from the jobs?
Off the street. I know several different people.
I'm
not proud of it. I never did hard drugs when I was a kid.
Now, wait a minute. With the fentanyl scare, you are playing Russian roulette.
Well, they prescribed me fentanyl for 5 years.
No. I'm saying this, you might think you're getting some opiate. There are people dropping dead because of this heavily dosed.
They're not stupid. It's just that they don't. You have to be careful every time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you get it, you got to be careful. You got to try just a tiny bit because it will kill you. Yeah, I'll tell you what. When I first got here, there was 20 of us that hung around over by this Walmart. Everybody's dead. There's one person besides me. Out of 20 people, everybody's dead.
What did they die of and from? What?
Drug overdoses. You know what I mean? But see, like my wife, though, she had a stroke. She didn't die from a drug overdose.
But did they die from an overdose from something that they thought was an opiate and turns out it was fentanyl? Because people are getting this.
Well, because the fentanyl comes in, it's like you can get fentanyl one way, but then they have what they call 10,000 and they have what they call 50,000. And the 10,000. If you did a match head of it, a size of a match head, it will kill you.
Right.
You know
and
what I
what
mean?
they're
So you-
doing is they are dosing, whether it's actual fentanyl or whether it's some Chinese version of it. There are people who are taking things as simple as Tylenols, and they're dropping dead because people are being poisoned.
But
You've
the
got to
tiny
really
amount will
watch
kill you.
this.
Right, and it's a scourge. It is a scourge. You know, but then you have some people that have real serious issues. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to justify anything myself. What I'm doing, it's wrong. But it's that or be in so much pain that I can't even stand up.
No, no.
You know, so
Let me say something not in your defense, not that you need my defense. There's one thing, you know, when somebody said one time, imagine having the worst toothache you've ever had in your life, and it's in your mouth, and most people can relate to that, where the nerve is raw and you're just doubled over in pain. Then he said, compare that with the rest of your body, where you're just consumed by this. So your addiction is not to get high; it's to get normal. It's to to be able to be ambulatory. Again, I'm not trying to put. Listen, you're
exactly right.
You're not a bad person. I can tell immediately. This is not the way you thought you would end up. What would you need to do to get off this? Would you need to go to detox? Would you need to go to some kind of program?
Yeah. Yes. I would. I couldn't cold turkey it, not at this point. And I mean, you know, I've been through so much stuff. I mean, the police beat me up really bad about 6 months ago, and then it made everything much worse.
What did they beat you up for? What happened?
Because I asked for a grievance form in the jail because they had me in there, and I got really sick because I didn't have any meds. And after 5 days, they only let me out, and I'm still messed up from it. And that's the worst thing is the police. I mean, they
Have you ever thought of? Have you ever thought about going to a lawyer, seeking some type of?
I tried. I tried. And like when I first got here, they had my wife had a history of strokes, and she was having a stroke. And I took her to the hospital, and they said she was overdosing, and they started Narcan in her, and it stopped her heart. And they brought her back, but it gave her brain damage. And then she was out here. We was out here for 8 years, and then she had another stroke, and they did the same thing, even though I told them to, and they killed her.
And you know what they do? You know, Mike, they think.
My daughter died from the vaccine.
Wait a minute. What? What?
Well, 6 months before my wife died, I lost my oldest daughter. The vaccine killed her.
How do you know that?
Because she took it and got sick and died.
Oh my God!
And so it's been a run. But I stay positive and everything, and I help people. I don't steal from people or anything. But there's some real dogs out here. But the worst thing is the police by far.
Really?
Everybody's scared to death of the police, so they'll kill you. You know what I mean? So you got to really try to avoid them.
And also, Mike, this is interesting because people will. You mentioned this, and how do I say this? A lot of times you'll hear black folks say that they are targeted by the police because they're black. You're a white feller, and it seems like this violence is indiscriminate. They don't care who you are.
I don't want to interrupt you, but let me tell you something about black people that I've learned out here.
Okay.
Black people help me probably out of all the races. I'd say I get 70%, 75% of the help I get comes from black people.
Really?
Yeah. And then the rest would be Chinese and Latinos, and maybe 1 or 2% from white people. And the white people are the ones calling the police on you, and they'll make up stories, and they're the ones with the hate in their eyes. You know what I mean? It's all the assistance of people that help me and the kind people comes from black people.
What do you attribute that to, if you can attribute that to anything?
I don't know. Maybe from being brutalized or something, I mean,
maybe a compassion
that I've seen with my own eyes that I would never believe before I was homeless, that I've seen with my own eyes. You know what I mean? That I just would not have believed before becoming homeless. I went.
What was that noise? Sounds like a bowling alley.
I'm in the tunnel. It's right under a bridge.
Wow. Now, let me ask you, what about prostitution? Is that a big thing in the street prostitution?
Yeah. There's a lot of people turning tricks. That's for sure. A lot of the girls,
What is the worst thing? What is the worst thing you've seen, if you can imagine? The worst thing you've seen that comes to mind.
A friend of mine went to the hospital for constipation and came back, and they cut him for a colostomy bag, and they didn't put a bag on him, and he died.
Oh my God!
He bled out. He came back. He's like, "Help me!" And he laid down and died right there in front of me.
I mean, so far the medical the medical negligence that I'm hearing about is incredible. That's number one.
It's bad. It's bad. No, you don't go to if you're homeless, you don't go to the hospital.
Really?
They'll kill you. You won't come back. In fact, I was a girl that I had actually talked to. You know what I mean? And the first girl that I talked to after my wife passed, and she went to the hospital and didn't come back. That happened just a few weeks ago.
How old was she?
What happened to her? She was probably 35.
Oh my God! I mean, nobody cares about you. You're just throwaway to these people, right? I mean that.
Yeah, like in the hospital, the way they treat you, you don't go to the hospital for anything. I wouldn't go. I'll have to be unconscious.
You know, it's so funny, Mike.
I took blood for a week or for a month. Wow. After the cops beat me up. And I didn't go to the hospital. I'm scared to death to go,
You know, Mike, it's funny how people say, we live in the greatest country in the world. We have the best medical attention in the world. And there's no way to socialize medicine. We don't ever have socialized medicine because we live in the best country. Well, that may be true for me, but not for you. Now, are there any programs or is there any?
That's all fake. The programs that they have and they hype up all these programs and everything, it's all fake. You go there and they'll just run you around in circles till you give up.
Really?
I mean, yeah. And they're like, oh, we got this and we got this program and that program, and they just run you around in circles. Now, I'm not saying all this to get anybody to feel sorry for me. I don't need your.
We're not saying that.
You know what I mean? I need empathy. Not sympathy.
Well, see, that's what you're saying.
It's my fault that I'm out here. I don't have nobody to blame but myself. You know what I mean? And I accept that. And I accept that I have to be responsible for my own actions.
Do you have any family other than your immediate? Do you have relatives anywhere else?
My mom eloquently sent me a text about 6 months after we became homeless and explained how the family was washing their hands of me.
Why?
Because I was a drug addict. And she goes around and tells everybody that I killed my wife.
Oh my! This is your mother?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she should be in prison.
Why?
For what she did when I was a kid.
Why?
I mean,
what did she do?
She gave me to pedophiles through my whole childhood. And then when I got old enough to fight back, she took me out and dumped me like a dog on the interstate. And they didn't do a thing to her.
What did she? I'm sorry. What did she do to you? You said pedophile. What did she do?
At 11, I started fighting back. Because it was through the big brother, big sister thing. And they were coming to get me a couple times a week, And at 11, I started fighting back. I got big enough to fight back. And she took me out and dumped me like a dog on the interstate.
Now, she knew it. Wait a minute. She knew this. She knew they were abusing you?
She was the one doing it. She was getting money for it.
She was selling you?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have any? Did you have any brothers or sisters, siblings?
I had two sisters, and they don't even understand because they don't. You know what I mean? My older sister knows, and there's a whole story behind why. And I think that's why my mom was doing it, was to try to somehow apologize to her for my dad. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Did your sisters suffer the same fate you were?
No.
Just you?
Yeah.
The only boy?
Yeah. And she goes around and tells everybody that I'm crazy and retarded and all this. And I'm actually pretty intelligent.
I can tell.
I mean, I've got almost a master's degree.
No, I can tell. No. Aside from that, I can tell. Mike, this sounds not to make you feel worse, but What kind of a cloud were you born under? What happened?
I don't know. My father was like a some kind of satanic priest or something, into black magic and all this stuff. And I often wonder if he didn't sell me or something, or put some kind of curse on me or something, because it never stops, you know. It never stops. But well, I don't let it get me, you know. I just keep on keeping on, you know. I'm proud of my family, you know. I broke the cycle of abuse. You know, I never abused my wife or my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and,
do you have kids?
Yeah, I have 2 daughters. One of them passed away last year.
Oh my God.
But I have another daughter. She lives in Illinois, and I love her. I've been wanting to go back, but I'm kind of embarrassed. You know?
Well, do you have any contact with her?
Yeah, we talk and text each other on the phones occasionally.
Does she know your plight, your situation?
You know, she wants me to come home, but
why don't you? Is she married? Is she? How old is she?
I got a lot of bad memories there, and I just don't want to go there.
Wait a minute, you mean to that same city?
Yeah.
Oh well, that
big. To come out here, you know. I mean,
now,
I leave heaven and earth if she come out here.
Now, was your daughter married? Does she have a new family or?
No. No, she's by herself now. You know.
But wait a minute. Is there a way for you, if you were to rejoin her, is there a way for you to live either at or near that part, or you just want to stay away from it completely?
I don't want to go back to Illinois. I have just too many bad memories.
Sure.
You know, I mean, in a way, everybody like turned on us, and you know, I just don't want no part of it. They don't deserve me, but she does. And like I said, if I could get her to come out here, I would move heaven and earth. I would, and I'd get off the street, you know. And then
has she ever considered that?
She says she's going to, but she never comes. You know, so but.
Well, Mike, I want to make sure you've got a friend here, my friend.
Hey, I'll call you when you got some good. You're right on the money with what you say. You know, and people can say what they want, but you got it, buddy. That's why I like you, and you're not afraid to put it like it is, and that's why I listen to you.
Well, you know what? You're the same way, and I'm proud to know you. I hope you call me back.
You too, brother. You put a smile on my face every night, and thank you for that, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Mike. We love you, brother.
I love you too, brother.
All righty,
man.
Thank you so much. Yep. Wow. All I can say is wow. The tunnel system in Las Vegas?
Yeah, it's very, very sad and growing quicker and quicker. And I really feel bad for that guy. There's maybe about 12,000 or so people. It used to be like 8,000. Can you imagine that amount of people? And some are very violent, and a lot of crime goes on. Sometimes they steal from each other. But that gentleman seemed like he needs every kind of help. And I would love to send him a PayPal or something if I could. You know, I'm going to put him in my prayers. And I love your shows because you go from A to B. You hit it all. It's not just boring politics. And you really reach out and get people.
Well, you know, I got to tell you something. There's always the reality. When somebody tells you something, when you see somebody who is on the street, you know, my mother used to always say, whenever she saw anybody in the street or somebody that kind of scared you, she says, remember, they were a cute little baby one day. And I thought, wow, I never thought about that, but everybody has a story. And if you look at this, especially when I love when people say we're supposed to look out for God's children, you know, God's children. We're all God's children. And I'll bet you he has a tremendous story. I find his story fascinating. And what he needs is not just necessarily, you know, the pat on the back, but he needs detox. He's got to get off of this. When people become addicted to painkillers, when people become addicted to opiates, it's a different story altogether. It's not necessarily their fault. And there are some drugs where, very frankly, people get so lost. You know, there's a show, or there's not a show, but it's a YouTube channel called it's called The White Underbelly or something, and it's about people who are homeless, and sex workers and drug addicts and people who are in the carnivals or whatever it is. And every one of them has a story. And everyone had this one particular part. And did you hear what he said about being sold as a child? If you knew the number, this is why my wife is so committed to this. By the way, please follow her at linswarriors.org. See what's going on. There is so much legislation going on, especially what's happening to children. But if you could walk out, let's say we walked into Times Square, and I could put on special glasses, and everybody who has had an untoward moment, a moment of abuse, a moment of pain, a moment of violence, if I could show you in just by looking out the people who were available, who had something, you would be surprised and shocked at the number of people who, let's say there was a glow or something that you could see by virtue of these special glasses. The number of people who have suffered, the number of people who know an example of something that happened in their life, the number of people who have been, and the number of people who right now are sold as we speak in New York City, sold by family members, sold like chattel. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Let's go to Mike in Pennsylvania. Mike, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
How are you, Lionel?
Good, Mike.
I don't know how I even talk after what that guy had to say. I mean,
I know.
That was a great conversation. You guys should go and find this guy or whatever.
Well, I hope, I hope he calls back and we can, maybe we can help him somehow. I don't know. He seems like, he seems like a very smart man, a good man. I know we just talked on the phone, but I think my instincts are pretty spot on. He seems like just a decent guy that you would like if you met him. Just a decent, nice, kind, just a regular Joe, a person who deserves better. In any event, Mike, let's talk about you. What's on your mind, pal?
Well, what's on my mind is Curtis. I think Curtis should be the mayor. He's the only guy who's from New York. Forget about Cuomo, forget about Adams. But since Bloomberg, I always said, why do we got some guy from Boston? We had Bloomberg and we had de Blasio. Two guys from Boston. Ruined the city, okay? Curtis has been around for 60 years. All the neighborhoods and all. And what I did was, as soon as I heard he was running, I got myself a red beret. And I wear a red beret. So anybody who wants to support Curtis and get Curtis in people's faces, put on red berets. It's just like Trump with his, make America great again.
You know what? Mike, it's funny you say that. Mike, it's funny you say that because that is an emblem. That is his escutcheon. That is his uniform, so to speak. And I think it's great. Let me tell you something. I've known Curtis for over 30 years. And he is, I'm telling you, one of the best. And I'm telling you, one of the smartest people you've ever met. Don't ever let that Hunts Hall Leo Gorcey bit fool you. Believe me, he knows his stuff. All right, dear friends, I want to thank you so much. Riff Raff, you were exquisite tonight. Thank you, dear friend. And Mr. Blaze, you are at the top of your game tonight. And thank you so much for being with us. Don't forget, you can follow me at LionelMedia.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We'll see you again. And until then, we always leave you with this valedictory, this little sayonara. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.